Chapter 14. After Duang left, Fang Zhao took a closer look at the office. Other than the desk and the microcomputer, the most eye-catching feature was the row of bookshelves. Few people read paperback books these days, but there were still some. Some people liked the retro style, while others just liked the feel of paper. There were probably tens of thousands of books on the bookshelves in this office. Some looked very new, while others had been flipped so many times that the edges of the books were wrinkled. Perhaps it was because the materials had been upgraded, but Fang Zhao did not see any torn pages. Or perhaps the books that had been flipped through had been replaced with new ones. Who knew how many supervisors this bookshelf had gone through? Fang Zhao skimmed through the books. Most of them were about virtual idols, ranging from their historical evolution to technological updates to their form and nature. The concept and cultural characteristics of virtual idols, the aesthetics of virtual idols, the emotional expressiveness of virtual idols, a brief analysis of the reg dimension. Fang Zhao picked a book about the development of virtual idols and sat down in his chair to read. The office was much better than the one on the Black Street. There were no interruptions, and there was plenty of light from the windows. Fang Zhao flipped through page after page. The more he read, the more he realized how different the entertainment industry of this era was. The virtual revolution began after the end of days, in year 206 of the new era. Reg, known as the father of virtual idols, invented the reg dimension, which put virtual idols on the big, glittering stage. Under the sun, they competed with real stars and ushered in a golden age of virtual idols. After the period of destruction, the world economy recovered quickly and science and technology advanced rapidly. Digital technology was one of them. It digitized all the information in the real world and reproduced it through sight, hearing, and other senses. It was also possible to synthesize images, texts, sounds, and images that didn't exist in the real world. Virtual idols synthesized by electronic technology were also a product of the visual era. They emerged from the virtual world and stood before people, animated on the big screen, and celebrated in every venue. There's no denying that the reg dimension was an epoch-making invention. Fang Zhao read the introduction of the reg dimension in the book. It was amazing. The reg dimension was a virtual world. 300 years ago, Reg, the father of virtual idols in the new era, created a combination of physics and computer science. Virtual idols were created from this application technology. 300 years ago, Reg GE revolutionized virtual technology and created the Reg space. This allowed future virtual technicians to better and more realistically create a virtual image. The Reg space could accommodate billions of colors, breaking away from the limitations of projection space. It made the dynamic effects of virtual idols smoother and more natural. They could be projected into the air and within reach, regardless of viewing angle. In the words of the book, the creation of a virtual idol is a process of creating an image in the virtual world and giving it life. The virtual idols, born in the reg dimension, gained new life from the brains of the people working behind the scenes, as well as new electronic technology. Today, 300 years after the reg dimension's creation, virtual technology had been upgraded countless times, making virtual idols even more perfect. But all of these new technologies were built on the foundation of the reg dimension. It could be said that the reg dimension was the cornerstone of virtual idol technology in the new era, a technology that every person working on virtual idols had to understand. Reg GE had created the reg dimension and ushered in the golden age of virtual idols. But 300 years later, Reg GE was long gone, and the golden age of virtual idols was no more. This wasn't because of the reg dimension, but because of people. People were the true masters of the reg dimension, the hands of God who created virtual idols. If he had a choice, Fang Zhao would love to go back 300 years and see what the golden age of virtual idols was like in books and documentaries. Movies couldn't compare to experiencing it in person. Fang Zhao was in a dilemma as he returned to reality. He could find technicians, but first, he had to decide what kind of image he wanted to create. The book said, in the reg space, you are like a painter with a paintbrush, a sculptor with a knife, creating your own dream. The problem Fang Zhao was facing now was this: even if he was given a pen and a knife, what would he draw? What would he carve? Just as Fang Zhao was deep in thought, 3 visitors came to visit. Y.A. Erlin, the head of the arrangement department, Julian, the head of operations, and B.U. Lai, the head of the logistics department. TSK, it's rare to see someone here. Y.A. Erlin pointed to a few corners of the office with a boneless finger. It's still too empty. It's fine. Fang Zhao, is it? B.U. Lai, the head of the logistics department, said with concern, don't worry, I'll have a sofa delivered to you tomorrow. Let me know if you need anything else. As long as it's not too difficult, I can get it done. That's right. Don't stand on ceremony with B.U. Lai. He's got a lot of funds. Just transfer some to him and he'll be able to get it done, Julian said with a smile. The 3 of them had come to take a look out of curiosity. They didn't think it was appropriate to leave such a ridiculous project to a newcomer, not to mention a newcomer who had done well in the new talent contest. Wasn't this bullying? Even though they didn't think it was appropriate, they would never accept the project. B.U. Lai had only agreed to compensate Fang Zhao in terms of supplies. He didn't dare mention anything related to the project. Fang Zhao, I know you majored in composition. How much do you know about virtual idols? Julian asked. In terms of age, Fang Zhao was much older than B.U. Lai, but this body was still young, so Fang Zhao didn't take it too seriously. As for Julian's question, Fang Zhao thought for a bit and said, virtual idols, like Zun Huai and Fei Lizi? Julian and the other 2 went silent for a few seconds. They didn't know how to respond. After a pause, Julian laughed. Young man, don't set your sights too high. You'll be disappointed if you set it too high. Everyone knew that the 2 big companies specialized in virtual idol production, especially Tongshan True Entertainment. Every idol they released was an idol with tens of millions of fans. This year's Zun Huai was also a success. They had already started investing in a movie, and it would only get more popular in the future. How could Fang Zhao compare to Silver Wing's flop virtual idols? You don't have to reach the level of Zun Huai and Fei Lizi. Anyway, just do your best. We won't blame you if you fail, B.U. Lai said with a sigh. Y.A. Erlin rolled his eyes. Yes, they wouldn't blame Fang Zhao, but it was hard to say what the higher-ups would think. Do any of you have a favorite virtual idol? Fang Zhao asked. Of course. Y.A. Erlin was about to say something, but he stopped abruptly and smiled sheepishly. It's all in the past. Don't bring it up. Fang Zhao glanced at Julian and B.U. Lai. They didn't seem to want to talk about it either. We're just concerned about you. Fang Zhao, you go ahead. We have to get back to work. B.U. Lai waved his hand and left. I have to go, too. Me too. Julian and Y.A. Erlin slipped away. As Y.A. Erlin walked out the door, he was secretly glad he'd stopped talking. If he'd said too much and Fang Zhao followed his instructions and created a virtual idol, he'd be held responsible for the project's failure. Thank goodness. After the 3 supervisors left, Fang Zhao hadn't even finished 2 pages of his book when someone else came by. The newcomer was in his 30s, unshaven, and his palm-length hair was a mess. There were red marks on his face, probably from sleeping on his desk. This was the only employee in the department Du Ang had mentioned. Hi, I'm Zhu Wen. I'm a technician in the virtual idol department. I'm Fang Zhao, the current producer of the virtual idol project. Fang Zhao gestured for Zhu Wen to find a chair. Zhu Wen didn't feel uncomfortable. He dragged a chair over and sat down. I know you. It's all over the department now. Fang Zhao knew it wasn't because of the new talent contest. Even though the new talent contest was important to newcomers like them, it wasn't necessarily the case for the rest of the company. So it wasn't hard to imagine why. The entire Silver Wing knew the virtual idol project had been shoved into the hands of a newcomer in the composition department. It was a hot topic on the company's intranet. Zhu Wen, who spent most of his time online, knew. Are we really the only ones on the project right now? Fang Zhao asked. Yeah, it's just the 2 of us now, Zhu Wen said casually. There used to be 3, but when I heard you were coming this morning, I applied for a transfer and went to another department. Before Fang Zhao had arrived, the virtual projects department had not been left with just 1 person. There had been 4 people in the morning. Ever since the virtual projects the company had invested in had failed last year, there had been no one to manage the virtual projects department. The previous supervisor and producer was still lying in the hospital. It was said that he had suffered a huge blow and was depressed. He had many complications and had been hospitalized until now. However, they did not know the actual situation. Since there was no one to manage the department, they were like sheep herding sheep. Every day, they would clock in, sleep, surf the internet, play games, and knock off at the appointed time. They still got paid every month. It wasn't much, but it was easy. Now that the project was about to start, the three of them were scared off. "Why did you stay?" Fang Zhao asked. "Everyone else left." "Why did you stay?" "I didn't have time." Zhu Wen yawned. "I still had to file a transfer application. I fell asleep in the middle of it this morning and just woke up." Fang Zhao. No wonder Du Ang didn't curse when he saw Zhu Wen sleeping during working hours. He was probably worried that if he scolded the last person away, there would be no one left. Seeing Zhu Wen yawn non-stop, Fang Zhao suddenly asked, "Are you a celebrity chaser? Are you talking about the virtual reality idols that are currently active on the internet?" "Not just that. The old ones count too. If that's the case, I'm not a celebrity chaser." Zhu Wen grinned. "Because I'm a reg dimension technician." Fang Zhao remembered reading about it in the book he had just read. Most reg space technicians had the same mentality: what I create is what I pursue. What others create is just an idol in other people's hearts. My idol has to be created from my own hands. Chapter 15. What kind of image do you think we should create? Fang Zhao asked. He was a newbie when it came to virtual idols. Even though virtual idols had existed before the apocalypse, it was different now. Now it was a mature system, so it was hard to choose. "Don't ask me." Zhu Wen shot up from his chair as if he had been stabbed by a nail. "Don't ask me. I'm just a technician in charge of the theory. The virtual image is decided by the producer. I'm only responsible for creating the image. To put it simply, I only do what you tell me to do. As the producer, you decide what to do." Zhu Wen didn't want to be the scapegoat. Silver Wing's virtual projects had always been this way. If what he said caused the final project to fail, it would be disastrous. Seeing how everyone avoided the virtual image, Fang Zhao realized that he really had to be the one to design the virtual image for this project. No one else dared to touch it. "Well, if there's nothing else, I'll head back first." Zhu Wen had just come to report in and see what the new producer was like. "Sure, you can head back first." Zhu Wen didn't say another word as he was let go. He strode away, leaving Fang Zhao alone in the large office, staring at the book on his desk. What should I create for the virtual image? At that moment, his bracelet notified him of a call. It was a matter from the Black Street. He had made an appointment to renovate the rented apartment. Silver Wing's salary had already been transferred to his account. According to the contract, Fang Zhao would receive 1 million downloads for his new talent season songs. 900,000 was a cut of the downloads, and 100,000 was the company's reward for placing fifth. Fang Zhao could use the money to rent a better place or even buy a smaller single room in the suburbs. The company had asked if he needed a place to stay. Regular employees could apply for lodging. Fang Zhao had originally planned to buy a single room in the suburbs, but after accepting this project, he put those thoughts to rest. He would probably spend most of his time at the company. Composers had their own time and didn't need to come to the office every day, but as a producer, he needed more detailed information about the virtual project. Some information could only be accessed at the company for free. Outside the company, he had to pay a hefty fee to access it online. He could read the documents in the company, and he could even sleep in the company. In that case, there was no need to find a place to stay. He had lived in worse places during the apocalypse, so he was not in a hurry to find a place to stay. It was better to complete this project first. Therefore, Fang Zhao chose to renovate his rented apartment. After bidding Du Ang farewell, Fang Zhao left the office and returned to his residence on Black Street. After deciding not to change his residence for the time being, Fang Zhao first upgraded his equipment. His headphones, glasses, and audio equipment were all of a better quality. Now, the renovators had installed soundproof windows and ventilation systems. In less than an hour, the modification was completed. Looking at the time, it was already 5 p.m. Fang Zhao went downstairs, and the curly-haired dog followed closely behind. Arriving at the store, Fang Zhao entered to buy some food. Now that he had some cash on hand, there was no need for him to feel aggrieved. He ordered some food with better ingredients. Yu Qing handed the decompressed food to Fang Zhao. These foods were more delicate and soft than the compressed cakes from before, and the fragrance was more natural. "How much?" Fang Zhao asked. "No need, it's for you. Congratulations on your good results in the rookie competition." Yu Qing didn't pay much attention to the music industry. He only learned about it when he overheard a few youngsters at his shop yesterday. Fang Zhao accepted the plate and said, "Thank you. Boss Yu, what kind of idols do you like? Virtual or real?" Fang Zhao asked. "Idols?" Yu Qing was taken aback by the question. He shook his head. "No, I don't chase stars. I don't care about idols these days. I don't pay attention to the singers or composers when I listen to songs. I only heard about your new talent competition from others. I didn't pay attention to it before. But..." Yu Qing cautiously scanned the interior of his shop. After confirming his wife was still at work, he said to Fang Zhao, "But I remember a celebrity with a great figure." Yu Qing's voice wavered. He gestured with his hands. "What was her name again?" "Sigh, I don't remember her name." "Virtual or real?" Fang Zhao asked. "I'm not sure. Is there a difference between virtual and real?" "For us, we can't even touch them," Yu Qing said. "So, Boss Yu, do you have any idols?" Fang Zhao asked. "Idols? Yeah, my boss, but he's in the military. Back then, before he was discharged." Yu Qing's mind wandered as he talked about his military days, but he quickly snapped out of it. "Why are you asking?" "I accepted a project related to virtual idols," Fang Zhao said. "It wasn't a secret, so there was no need to hide it." "Then I can't help you. I don't really care about idols or celebrities. Even if I remember their faces, I don't remember their names. I don't know how to appreciate their songs. Anyway, if I hear something I like, I'll keep it. But there aren't many songs I like these days. They're either too soft or messy. I don't like them." Yu Qing really didn't understand music, and he didn't listen to many songs. At that moment, someone called out to Fang Zhao. "Hey, Fang Zhao. Over here." Fang Zhao followed the voice. It was the owner of the pharmacy. He was waving at Fang Zhao. "Rewan must be looking for you," Yu Qing said. Rewan was the owner of the pharmacy. Fang Zhao stuffed the rest of his food into his mouth, returned the plate, and walked briskly out of the shop toward the pharmacy. "What's up?" Fang Zhao asked. Rewan glanced at the dog following close at Fang Zhao's feet. "It's about your curly-haired dog." Pulling Fang Zhao into the shop, Rewan handed over the results of his tests over the past few days. When he'd shaved the dog's fur, he'd wanted to see what was so special about it that it had broken his machine. But after testing, he hadn't found anything unusual about the dog's fur. There were 5 rare metal elements that exceeded the limit. "We didn't detect them before, but it's not a big deal. Maybe it's from picking up food from the garbage dump. There's a lot of toxic waste in the garbage dump, so don't worry about it," Rewan said. Fang Zhao glanced at Rewan's test results and asked, "Is this what you wanted to talk about?" "Of course not." Rewan handed over another test result. "When I examined the dog's fur, I compared the DNA sequence to the database." "Didn't you ask about its breed?" "The result is that it might have the lineage of a curly-haired roving hound or waterhound from before the period of destruction. But your dog's curly hair is a little wavy, and most species during the period of destruction mutated, so the results aren't accurate. There were too many species that went extinct during the period of destruction, and the database is limited, so there's no way to get more accurate data. But I also compared the data of dogs after the period of destruction." Rewan pulled up another image. "You might not know this, But after the period of destruction, some signature genes were found in the bodies of service dogs. Wild dogs that survived the period of destruction also had signature genes that were different from domesticated dogs. Researchers who studied dogs in the past used these two signature genes to distinguish between the descendants of service dogs and wild dogs. REWN pointed at the results and then pointed at the curly-haired dog by Fang Zhao's feet. And I found that curly hair has both signature genes. So what's your conclusion? Fang Zhao asked. Curly hair's ancestor must have been a descendant of a service dog and a wild dog. But curly hair's wild dog genes are probably stronger. After all, it's small in size. Service dogs are usually large dogs. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that curly hair is a descendant of those few small service dogs, but I still believe in the former. Small in size and strong in vitality were the main characteristics of wild dogs after the period of destruction, because large wild dogs had long been wiped out. Think back to what it was like when you first picked it up, and the concentration of heavy metals in its body. Any other dog would have died long ago. Curly hair's wild dog blood saved it. As he spoke, REWN wanted to pat curly hair's head, but curly hair dodged. Hey, you're still dodging? You were so obedient when you were shaving. You just lay there and didn't move, REWN grumbled. Thanks, Fang Zhao said. Although he hadn't asked REWN to check, REWN had taken the time to check and told him the results, so a word of thanks was in order. Don't mention it. I was curious, so long as you don't mind. REWN waved his hand. Fang Zhao thought about it and asked, Boss Ari, do you have any idols or celebrities you like? Idols? Yeah. What's her name? She played a nurse in a movie last year. Hey, she's really cute. Do you remember her name? Fang Zhao asked. I can't remember her name right now. A virtual idol or a real one? Virtual. How nice would it be if she was a real person? Who knows, I might get to see her someday. But she doesn't act as well as she does. Back then, she played the nurse so well, just like a real emergency room nurse. Other actors couldn't do it. Even if they looked real, they wouldn't be able to fool a medical student. Chapter 16. High-quality Soul mirror glasses and headphones allowed Fang Zhao to better experience the atmosphere in the video and reconstruct the scene at that time. Soul Realm technology was also known as illusion technology, which was also known as virtual reality technology. There were two types of virtual idol concerts. One was a live concert, and the other was a virtual concert. A live concert was performed in a real venue. Fans who bought tickets went directly to the venue. The virtual concert, on the other hand, would be held on the internet with the help of spirit realm equipment. The development of virtual technology allowed people to experience the blood-boiling heat radiated from the stage across time and space. The dazzling figures on the stage, no matter if they were real or virtual, for the fans, the moment they arrived at the venue, the people on the stage were everything to them. The grand scene and the deafening sound effects were vividly reproduced. Regardless of the quality of the performers' songs, Fang Zhao focused on the key figures who could drive the tempo of the audience. There were all kinds of popular virtual idols. Just like celebrities had their own positions, when virtual idols were launched, the teams behind them also defined them. Some were bright, some were deep, some were mature, and some were cute. Unlike real people, virtual idols could freeze their age. A 16-year-old virtual idol could stay that way forever, unlike real idols that needed external help to disguise their age. It was impossible for Fang Zhao to watch all the performances of the most popular virtual idols, so he only skimmed through them. The current trend of virtual idols seemed to cater to the tastes of young people. That made sense. Young people were fans of idols and were willing to spend money on them. People like Yu Qing and the others wouldn't join in on the fun. Fang Zhao still didn't have a clue after watching a few videos. There were many kinds of virtual idols, especially in the era of Reg, the father of virtual idols in the new era. Humans, beasts, orcs, immortals, monsters. It was a golden age of virtual idols. Otherwise, real idols wouldn't have been pushed to the brink of extinction. The golden age of virtual idols was also known as the Reg era. Virtual idols weren't necessarily created by Reg, but they were created with the help of Reg Dimension. The popular virtual idols of today were more or less a reflection of that era. You could find similarities in the virtual idols of that era. Or should he learn from them and imitate the popular idols of the Reg era? Fang Zhao couldn't make up his mind, but he didn't want to be as perfunctory as Duang suggested. When he did something, he would either not do it or try his best to do it. For this reason, Fang Zhao decided that when he went to school tomorrow, he would consult a teacher who taught virtual reality. The next day, it was the last time the graduates would stand in school as students. After today, they would shed their identities as students and enter various professions. Teachers and students naturally focused on the outstanding graduates. Take the composition department for example. 6 of the top 10 on the New Pioneers chart were from the composition department. Excluding the 2 virtual idols, Qian Academy of Music accounted for 6 of the 8 composition student. The people from the composition department were happy, but the school leaders were even happier. They waved their hands and said, "Blow it. Blow as hard as you can." Now that the graduates were gone, the freshmen were recruiting again. If word got out, even more talented students would apply to their school. That was why the atmosphere at Qian Academy of Music was jubilant the past few days. The head of the composition department was beaming. He walked out the door with a spring in his step, until he heard that Silver Wing had given the virtual idol project to Fang Zhao. "I don't care. You're bullying the newcomers. A waste of talent. A waste of talent." When Fang Zhao arrived, the department head was on a video call. On the other side of the screen was Du Ang, the head of Silver Wing's composition department. Du Ang had a helpless look on his face. In a rare moment of good humor, he offered a few words of explanation. There was nothing he could do about it. The department head wasn't being kind. Besides, he could read the department head's mind. An outstanding student from his own department was being treated this way. He had to do something about it. Even if the other party was Silver Wing, one of the big 3, they were still a prestigious school. A prestigious school should have its pride and speak up when it was time to speak up. He would have done the same for any other student. Even though he knew his protests wouldn't change the outcome, whether he could change it was one thing, and whether he spoke up was another. At the very least, he had to show his attitude. Duang cursed in his heart, "Sly old fox, you picked the right time." Fang Zhao's call was just in time. Maybe it was all arranged in advance. The department head hung up in a huff. When he turned to Fang Zhao, his attitude was much kinder. He sighed and even offered a few words of consolation. "Anyway, don't stress yourself out. Even the professionals they hired couldn't produce a good one. Don't stress yourself out too much." "Thanks, sir. I know." "Oh, right. Rongzheng said you wanted to see me." Rongzheng told Fang Zhao as soon as he arrived that the department head wanted to see him. "Nothing much. Just don't take it too seriously. Silver Wing doesn't care about it anyway. Besides, you can continue composing while the project is in progress." The department head offered a few more words of consolation. When he was sure Fang Zhao wasn't as depressed as he'd thought, he let him go. "Sigh, what a good seedling. It's just bad luck that he'll be delayed for another year." The department head lowered his head and sighed as he watched Fang Zhao leave. But when he thought about the other members of the composition department, his mood brightened. The virtual idol project was bound to be delayed for half a year or more. Even though he'd told Fang Zhao he could continue composing while the project was in progress, he wouldn't have the energy or inspiration to compose when he was really busy. So a year of delay was a given. But over the next year, the composition department would have a few other outstanding graduates making their presence felt in the music industry. Fang Zhao might be gone, but there were still 5 new composers in the top 10 of the New Pioneers chart. The Chi-tone department was still the leader. That was something other schools couldn't compete with. Fang Zhao, who'd just left the department head's office, could guess what the old man was thinking. He wasn't really a youngster who'd just entered society, so he didn't take the department head's words too seriously. What made Fang Zhao feel the most was that the people who'd cheered for him when he'd been on the New Pioneers chart seemed to be avoiding him today. Of the 6 composition department members who'd made it to the top 10 of the New Pioneers chart, The treatment Fang Zhao received was clearly different from the other 5. It wasn't that he was treated coldly or estranged, but people didn't know what to say to him. Those who came over to talk to him were mostly consoling him. They'd all heard from their seniors how important the first year of a newcomer's career was. If a project was delayed for a year or longer, there would be more uncertainties and uncertainty. Fang Zhao didn't mind. He just smiled and said thanks when others consoled him. During the graduation ceremony, as one of the outstanding graduates, Fang Zhao went on stage with the others to receive an award. Why did everyone strive to make it to the top 10 of the New Pioneers chart? It was because the top 10 had enough exposure and fame. Fang Zhao could also hear the whispers of the people in the audience and the looks they were giving him. They probably thought he would disappear from the music industry for the next year. After the graduation ceremony, Fang Zhao didn't leave with the others. The original owner of his body didn't have many friends on campus, so there wasn't much to say. Fang Zhao applied for an auditing permit for his virtual idol class. Since he'd graduated, he could no longer enjoy preferential treatment as a current student. He had to pay an additional fee for an auditing permit. The virtual idol class was held in a large lecture hall. Compared to online classes, the live classes were more interactive. The lecture hall was fully equipped with top-notch equipment that would leave a deeper impression. That was why Fang Zhao was willing to come all the way to attend the class. While applying for the auditing permit, Fang Zhao ran into Chu Guang. Like Fang Zhao, Chu Guang was a composition major and ranked 4th on the New Pioneers chart. Auditing permit. You want to attend the class? Chu Guang was flabbergasted, but when he thought about the project Fang Zhao had been shoved into, he understood. Not many people take this course in our school, but the lecturer is my uncle, Chu Hong. I'll let him know. You can ask him if you have any questions in the future. But he was dragged away by some other lecturers. Thanks, Fang Zhao said. You're welcome. We're all classmates and from the same company. No need to thank me. If Fang Zhao hadn't been shoved into the virtual idol program, Chu Guang might have been a little more guarded. After all, they were competitors. But that wasn't necessary now. He was willing to help. Oh, right. Your uncle teaches virtual idol classes. How much do you know about virtual idols? Fang Zhao asked. Not much, but I know one thing. My uncle told me, not me. Chu Guang hurried to clear his name. Yeah, don't worry. I won't tell anyone. Fang Zhao understood Chu Guang's concerns. Chu Guang relaxed a little at Fang Zhao's reassurance. He looked around to make sure no one was paying attention, then said in a low voice, I overheard my uncle's rant when he was drunk with my dad. He said, troubled times are tough men, prosperous times are sissies. Perhaps virtual idols will evolve in the latter direction. Fang Zhao frowned. Why? Chapter 17. Seeing that Fang Zhao was still frowning, Chu Guang turned on the screen on his bracelet and switched to drawing mode. To put it simply, Chu Guang drew 2 circles on the screen and connected them with a straight line. He pointed at the circle on the left. This one is the tough type. He then pointed at the circle on the right. This one is the soft and cute type. Fang Zhao nodded, indicating that he understood. Chu Guang drew a circle in the middle of the line. This is the middle of the two. In the Reg era, virtual idols were mostly center-left or center-left. Even if there were right-leaning idols, they were few and far between. But after the Reg era, the trend gradually shifted to the right. That's why my uncle said that. Although it's a little extreme, and the current situation isn't that serious, the general trend according to the statistics is correct. Fang Zhao understood. The information he had read had mentioned the changing styles of virtual idols. In order to compete with real idols, virtual idols had to change their styles, and just as Chu Guang had said, the trend was toward the right end. Chu Guang retracted the screen on his bracelet. This is a visual era. Aesthetics change with each passing era. Even those popular idols from the Reg era may not be as popular now. Virtual idols today, though more or less similar to those classic idols from the Reg era, have been modified to suit the aesthetic preferences of the current generation, making them more in line with the visual preferences of the current generation. Even for us composers, our style of composition will change over the course of our lives. A businessman once said, "The market is not wrong. If you can't be accommodated by the market, then you are the only one who is wrong. Keep up with the times and don't be stubborn with the market." Chu Guang saw that Fang Zhao still couldn't find an answer, so he comforted him with a smile. "But don't worry too much. You're a composer, not a professional virtual idol producer. And Silver Wing doesn't care much about virtual idol projects. Just follow what Silver Wing has done in the past. Finish this project as soon as possible. Composing is the most important thing. We'll be waiting for you at the music chart." Other than the New Pioneers chart, there were many other charts in the music industry. The New Pioneers chart was just a small, preliminary chart. They still had many more charts to climb in the future. After leaving the campus, Chu Guang left in his flying car. Fang Zhao also boarded the train. He still had to change trains to get to the Black Street. By the time Fang Zhao reached the Black Street, it was already 4 in the afternoon. The Black Street was still as dusky as ever. Curly Hair had heard the commotion and was already waiting behind the door. When Fang Zhao entered, he whimpered and wagged his tail vigorously. Fang Zhao scanned the interior of the house and saw that nothing had been damaged. He rubbed the dog's head and poured some food into the dog's plate. Fang Zhao had just put down his bag and had yet to finish his glass of water when his wristband rang with an incoming call. Looking at the name, Fang Zhao raised his eyebrows in surprise. After the call was connected, Fang Sheng's face appeared on the screen. Fang Sheng's treatment at Neon Culture didn't plummet, probably because Fang Zhao had pushed him off the New Pioneers chart, but it wasn't as warm as before. After not seeing him for a while, Fang Sheng was no longer in high spirits. His pale complexion, swollen eyes, and dark circles under his eyes suggested that he had been in bad shape. Who knew how long it had been since he'd had a good night's sleep? "Love go little say net wk Fang Zhao, you're good." Fang Sheng gritted his teeth. "Thanks for the compliment." Fang Sheng didn't seem to care about the resentment in his words. "What right did a thief have to be resentful? You must be happy to play me for a fool, right?" Fang Sheng was convinced that Fang Zhao had been hiding something. He had been wary of him. Otherwise, where had the song He come from? He had been following Fang Zhao around and hadn't noticed. It wasn't Fang Sheng's fault. Fang Zhao wouldn't have shown a diary of a breakup unless he had completed it, not even to Fang Sheng, whom he had considered a good friend. Fang Zhao set his glass down and didn't answer the question. Instead, he looked at Fang Sheng on the screen. "You think this is the end?" Fang Sheng had wanted to tease Fang Zhao about taking on the Silver Wing virtual idol project, but when he heard what Fang Zhao said, he froze. "What do you mean?" "Just wait." Wait for what? What else did Fang Zhao want? Could it be that, besides those 3 songs, Fang Zhao had something even better hidden up his sleeve? "Fang Zhao, speak clearly. What do you mean?" Fang Zhao ignored Fang Sheng's impatience and ended the call. He walked over to the corner where he had composed and opened the drawer where the original owner of his body had kept his diary. He placed the 5th place medal he had received at the graduation ceremony from the Yangzhou Music Association. Even though Fang Zhao had arranged the music, the main composer was the body's former owner. The original owner still took the credit for the award. "I'll take care of the rest." Now that he had graduated, Fang Zhao didn't need to go to school anymore. The summer break was here, and the next virtual idol class was in September. The download was only in early July. There was still a month to go. Fang Zhao had to make use of this month's time to come up with a rough plan for the project. Otherwise, his schedule would be full and he wouldn't be able to attend classes. Gathering staff and whatnot had to wait. First, Fang Zhao had to finalize his image. Fang Zhao understood what Chu Guang was trying to say, but he was still an old-timer who had just arrived and hadn't fully assimilated the latest trends. Imitating the predecessors and changing the skin of their cores. The advantage of virtual idols was that they didn't have to be human. Demonic gods and plush pets were popular in the Reg era, and there was a huge market for them. Some iconic images had even influenced generations. Different image styles corresponded to different demographics. The market. How to cater to the market. But the market was an elusive thing. No one could give a definitive answer. Fang Zhao still hadn't come up with a solution the next day. During breakfast, Fang Zhao saw a notebook peeking out of his open bag. He'd used it to jot down key information when he'd been flipping through documents at the company. He'd realized there was too much to remember, so he'd opted to use his bracelet's scanning and storage function. However, there was one line in the notebook that had left a deep impression on Fang Zhao. It was what Reg, the father of virtual idols of the new era, had once said, "What I create is what I pursue." Composing was also a form of creation. As a creator, even if his body was in a cage, his heart should still be free. "What I create is what I pursue," Fang Zhao said in a low voice. Fang Zhao added in a low voice. Then, he smiled and opened the large blank notebook. He took out a pen and started drawing on it. No one knew that the core of this body had experienced the 100-year period of destruction. Fang Zhao had no way of removing the era elements from his soul. Rather than being tied up and not knowing what to do, he might as well go all out. Time passed, and the sky gradually brightened. It was almost noon, and the sun was shining down on the street. Yu Qing, who was sunbathing in a tank top and shorts, was lying on a chair in front of a shop. He was surprised Fang Zhao hadn't come out. "Did the kid go out?" REWN asked, dropping by. "I don't know. I didn't see him this morning." Yu Qing glanced at the window. The window was open. "He didn't go out. The kid is still inside," Yu Qing confirmed. "That's weird. That's rare." REWN shook his head. He had studied Fang Zhao for many days out of habit. He felt that the guy was a little weird and hard to read. Maybe all artists were like that. Inside the shop, curly hair lay quietly on the floor after finishing the breakfast Fang Zhao had given him. His droopy ears twitched every now and then as he listened to the movements outside. Chapter 18. Seeing Fang Zhao still frowning, Chu Guang turned on the screen on his bracelet and switched to drawing mode. To put it simply, Chu Guang drew 2 circles on the screen and connected them with a straight line. He pointed to the circle on the left. "This one is the tough type." Then he pointed to the circle on the right. "This one is the soft and cute type." Fang Zhao nodded, indicating he understood. Chu Guang drew another circle in the middle of the line. "This one is in between the two." During the Reg era, virtual idols were mostly center-left or center-left. Even if there were right-leaning ones, they were a minority. But after the Reg era, virtual idols started to move to the right. "That's why my uncle said that. It's a little extreme, and the situation isn't that serious, but statistics show that the trend is correct." Fang Zhao understood. The materials he had read had mentioned the changing styles of virtual idols. In order to compete with real idols, virtual idols had to change their styles, and just as Chu Guang had said, the trend was toward the right end. Chu Guang retracted the screen on his bracelet. This is a visual era. Aesthetics change with each passing era. Even those popular idols from the Reg era may not be as popular now. Virtual idols today, though more or less similar to those classic idols from the Reg era, have been modified to suit the aesthetic preferences of the current generation, making them more in line with the visual preferences of the current generation. Even composers like us change our styles over the course of our lives. A businessman once said, "The market isn't wrong. If you can't be accommodated by the market, then you're the only one at fault. Keep up with the times. Don't be stubborn." Chu Guang saw that Fang Zhao still couldn't find an answer, so he comforted him with a smile. "But don't worry too much. You're a composer, not a professional virtual idol producer. And Silver Wing doesn't care much about virtual idol projects. Just follow what Silver Wing has done in the past. Finish this project as soon as possible. Composing is the most important thing. We'll be waiting for you on the music charts." Other than the New Pioneers chart, there were many other charts in the music industry. The New Pioneers chart was just a small, preliminary chart. They still had many more charts to climb in the future. After leaving the campus, Chu Guang left in his flying car. Fang Zhao also boarded the train. He still had to change trains to get to the Black Street. By the time Fang Zhao reached the Black Street, it was already 4 in the afternoon. The Black Street was still as dusky as ever. Curly Hair had heard the commotion and was already waiting behind the door. When Fang Zhao entered, he whimpered and wagged his tail vigorously. Fang Zhao scanned the interior of the house and saw that nothing had been damaged. He rubbed the dog's head and poured some food into the dog's plate. Fang Zhao had just put down his bag and had yet to finish his glass of water when his wristband rang with an incoming call. Looking at the name, Fang Zhao raised his eyebrows in surprise. After the call was connected, Fang Sheng's face appeared on the screen. Fang Sheng's treatment at Neon Culture had not plummeted, probably because Fang Zhao had pushed him off the new Pioneers chart, but it was certainly not as warm as before. After not seeing him for a while, Fang Sheng was no longer in high spirits. His pale complexion, swollen eyes, and dark circles under his eyes suggested that Fang Sheng had been in bad shape. Who knew how long it had been since he had had a good night's sleep? Fang Zhao, you're good. Fang Sheng gritted his teeth. Thanks for the compliment. Fang Sheng paid no heed to the resentment in his words. What right did a thief have to be resentful? You must be happy to play me for a fool, right? Fang Sheng was convinced that Fang Zhao had been hiding something. He had been wary of him. Otherwise, where had the song He come from? He had been following Fang Zhao around all this time and had not noticed. Fang Sheng could not be blamed. Fang Zhao would not have shown a diary of a breakup unless he had completed it, not even to Fang Sheng, whom he had considered a good friend. Fang Zhao set his glass down and did not answer the question. Instead, he looked at Fang Sheng on the screen. You think this is the end? Fang Sheng had wanted to tease Fang Zhao about taking on the Silver Wing virtual idol project, but when he heard what Fang Zhao said, he froze. What do you mean? Just wait. Wait for what? What else did Fang Zhao want? Could it be that, besides those 3 songs, Fang Zhao had something even better hidden away? Fang Zhao, speak clearly. What the hell do you mean? Fang Zhao ignored Fang Sheng's impatience and ended the call. He walked to the corner where he had composed and opened the drawer where the original owner of his body had kept his diary. He placed the 5th place medal he had received from the Yangzhou Music Association at the graduation ceremony. Although Fang Zhao had been the arranger, the main composer had been the previous owner of this body. The credit for the award still belonged to the original owner. I'll take care of the rest. Now that he had graduated, Fang Zhao no longer needed to go to school. Summer break was here. The next virtual idol class was in September, and the download was only in early July. There was still more than a month to go. Fang Zhao had to make use of this time to come up with a rough plan for the project. Otherwise, his schedule would be full and he would not be able to attend classes. Gathering staff and whatnot had to wait. First, Fang Zhao had to finalize his image. Fang Zhao understood what Chu Guang was trying to say, but he was a newcomer to the industry and had not fully assimilated the latest trends. Imitating the predecessors and changing the skin of their cores. The advantage of virtual idols was that they did not have to be human. Demonic gods and plush pets were popular in the Reg era, and there was a huge market for them. Some iconic images had influenced generations. Different styles corresponded to different audiences. The market. How to cater to the market. But the market was an elusive thing. No one could give a definitive answer. Fang Zhao still had not come up with a solution the next day. During breakfast, Fang Zhao saw a notebook peeking out of his open bag. He used it to record key information when he was flipping through documents at the company. Later, he realized there was too much to remember, so he opted for the scanning and storage function of his bracelet. However, there was one line in the notebook that had left a deep impression on Fang Zhao. It was what Reg, the father of virtual idols of the new era, had said, "What I create is what I pursue." Composing was also a form of creation. As a creator, even if his body was in a cage, his heart should still be free. "What I create is what I pursue," Fang Zhao said in a low voice. Fang Zhao added in a low voice. Then, he smiled and opened the large blank notebook. He took out a pen and started drawing on it. No one knew that the core of this body had experienced the 100-year period of destruction. Fang Zhao had no way of removing the era elements from his soul. Rather than being tied up and not knowing what to do, he might as well go all out. Time passed, and the sky gradually brightened. It was almost noon, and the sun was shining down on the street. Yu Qing, who was sunbathing in a tank top and shorts, was lying in front of the shop. He was surprised to see Fang Zhao not come out. "Did the kid go out?" Rewn asked, dropping by. "I don't know. I didn't see him this morning." Yu Qing glanced at the window. The window was open. "He didn't go out. The kid is still inside," Yu Qing confirmed. "That's weird. That's rare." Rewn shook his head. He had studied Fang Zhao for many days out of habit. He felt that the guy was a little weird and hard to read. Maybe all artists were like that. Inside the shop, curly hair lay quietly on the floor after finishing the breakfast Fang Zhao had given him. His droopy ears twitched from time to time, following the movements outside. Chapter 19. The heroes of the period of destruction couldn't be casually made into virtual avatars. In the early days of virtual idols, some companies did try to attract attention by using the images of war heroes from the period of destruction. But after playing around with them for a while, their persona crumbled, infuriating the fans of these heroes into banding together to ban the practice. Therefore, after that incident, the virtual idol industry was no longer allowed to use real-life heroes from the period of destruction, not even their names. If he really wanted to use a virtual avatar, he would have to make many applications and get approval before he could use it. Otherwise, "I'll see you in court." He couldn't use his comrades, and Fang Zhao hadn't thought of using his old image. He was right here. Whatever he wanted to do, he could do it himself. There was no need to play around. But if Fang Zhao had to choose, he would definitely choose the people and matters that had left the deepest impression on him. Since he couldn't use a Zhenren from the end of days, then he would use something else instead. For the next 2 days, other than eating and sleeping, Fang Zhao sat in a corner, drawing and revising before completing a rough draft. He wasn't an artist, and his painting skills were limited. Professional matters had to be left to professionals. Right now, he was only determining a rough image, and he would ask someone to perfect it later. It was noon again, and it was getting brighter outside the window. In front of Fang Zhao was a piece of paper spread out on his work desk. Although the drawing was not very clear or detailed, it was just a rough sketch. Anyone could tell that it was a tree. Fang Zhao took a deep breath. He did not know if this was the right step, but this was indeed what he was thinking. Heavenly Dragon Elephant Net. The Dragon Elephant Skynet was a common plant during the apocalypse. No one knew what it looked like before the apocalypse, but looking at its size, it should be very common and widespread. It could be found all over the world. After the apocalypse, many plants died, and there was a new round of extinction. However, there were some that survived through mutation, such as the Longxiang Tianluo. Longxiang Tianluo's name was given by a botanist. Unfortunately, the botanist had passed away during the early stages of the post-apocalyptic era. No one knew his name, but the name Longxiang Tianluo had always been called by people. At a time when most plants were unable to survive, this tree had managed to survive the apocalypse. It had become the largest plant in the apocalypse. Not only was it not poisonous, but it also had medicinal properties. During the apocalypse, many medicines were extracted from it. When he was setting up the virtual avatar, Fang Zhao recalled a casual chat he had with a few old friends during a gathering. "Old Zhao, don't you think we look like the Longxiang Tianluo? We were so normal before the apocalypse. I was a prison guard and Su Mu was a cowherd." "Old Shi, you're wrong. I'm a shepherd." Su Mu, who was sitting beside him, corrected him. "They all mean the same thing. Old Zhao, take a look. A shepherd, a teacher, a prison guard, and you, a composer, are all ordinary people. But after the apocalypse, everything has changed. It's not just us. Which of the people who have lived until now still have their former selves? It's not for fame. No matter what we become, it's all for survival." During the post-apocalyptic era, many of the wooden tools used were made from the wood of the Dracophant Tianluo tree. There were also medicines extracted from it that could help people prevent diseases. It could be said that the Longxiang Tianluo had walked through the post-apocalyptic era with mankind. Someone once joked that the Longxiang Tianluo was another comrade of the humans. Fang Zhao kept the drawing, washed his face, and went downstairs. Yu Qing and Rewan were curious to see Fang Zhao come downstairs after 3 days. "You've been cooped up in your room composing again?" "Yeah." Fang Zhao bought some food from Yu Qing's shop and ate while sunbathing. Rewan sighed. "It's not easy for you composers either. It takes a lot of brainpower." Fang Zhao chatted with Yu Qing and Rewan for a while. When the sun disappeared from the black street, Fang Zhao returned to his room and packed his things. He carried his backpack to Silver Wing and went straight up to the 50th floor. Zhu Wen didn't know if he'd been gaming all night last night, but he only responded after Fang Zhao called him a few times. "Who are you?" "Oh, the new producer." Zhu Wen was still in a daze. He'd almost forgotten that Fang Zhao had joined the virtual projects department. Luckily, he remembered in time. "Have you thought of the image?" Zhu Wen asked, yawning. "The sketch is set." Fang Zhao opened the notebook and placed it in front of Zhu Wen. Zhu Wen stared at the page in silence for 2 seconds. He rubbed his eyes and looked at it seriously. After a long time, he said, "It's not that I'm not awake, it's that you're crazy." Zhu Wen's first reaction was disbelief when he saw what was drawn on the paper. "Are you fucking kidding me? If I'm not wrong, you're drawing a tree?" Zhu Wen had wondered what kind of image Fang Zhao would come up with for him. He'd even wondered if Fang Zhao would be like the other project staff and put together a few virtual idols, this one's nose, that one's eyes, that one's face shape, that one's figure, and so on. The only thing he'd never imagined was that Fang Zhao would give him a tree. Humans, beasts, deities, monsters, people had released virtual idols before, but as a virtual artist himself, Zhu Wen had never seen a plant. A plant image was fine, but shouldn't it be a little more distinctive? For example, make it cuter, more attractive, or a little more flowery. Whatever was appealing, go for it. But Fang Zhao was an exception. "Bro, are you trying to make it a mudslide in the virtual idol world?" Zhu Wen glared at Fang Zhao. When he saw Fang Zhao nod in confirmation, he put on a dejected expression. "What kind of tree is this?" Zhu Wen pointed at the drawing, wishing he could pierce through it. "Longxiang Tianluo." "What?" "The Tianluo tree you're especially familiar with." "Since when did the Tianluo tree get the name Longxiang Tianluo?" Zhu Wen looked it up with the computer on his desk. The Tianluo tree, also known as the Longxiang Tianluo, is a product of the period of destruction. It's known as the Longxiang Tianluo of the period of destruction. Zhu Wen read the information on the screen without missing a word. "Sorry, I never passed botany. This is the first time I've heard of it." "You really want to do this? I mean, have you spoken to Manager Du?" Zhu Wen asked. "Manager Du is busy. He doesn't have time," Fang Zhao replied. "Got it." Whether Du Ang was really busy or not, it was certain he didn't want to manage the virtual idol department. So the virtual idol department had to listen to Fang Zhao, the producer. "How long will it take you to complete the virtual image?" Fang Zhao asked. "Based on what you've given me, it'll take about a week for the initial image to be completed. Don't think it's slow. After all, I'm the only one working. This is fast enough." The initial image was like a rough draft. It was just the first step. There would be subsequent revisions and enhancements. The advantage of virtual idols over real idols was that they could change their looks without limit. Beautify? How beautiful could a tree be? Even an anthropomorphic tree wasn't beautiful. Animate? That would work. Make it cuter. Zhu Wen was pondering how to modify the virtual idol when Fang Zhao asked, "Do virtual idols have to prepare music videos?" "That's usually the case." "Oh, right. Speaking of which, you should start preparing for soulcasting," Zhu Wen said. Determining the virtual idol's appearance was only the first step. There was the more important step of soulcasting. Soulcasting was the process of injecting life into a virtual idol. That was, the character's background, voice, personality, and so on. What was Tam's background? Where did he come from? What personality? It was all for the audience to understand Tam better. It was a soul-casting process. Virtual idols' debuts were usually associated with music videos. Neon Culture and Tongshan True Entertainment had released Zun Hui and Fei Li's music videos during the New Talent Contest. Generally speaking, the music videos of virtual idols in the new era would tell people about Tam's background and personality. Launching a virtual idol was also a process of fabricating a story. Maybe no one would care at first, but what if it became popular? Fabricate more stories? Before taking the first step, the virtual teams had already made plans for what would happen 100 steps later. If it was just a perfunctory effort, that was fine. Do whatever you want. But if you wanted to be serious, you had to be prepared. Why were virtual idol projects so expensive? Because there were too many factors involved. I can handle the initial image, but you have to hurry up and find a voice source and other technicians. A professional voice system needs professionals to do it. That's not my forte. We'll definitely need more technicians. I'll be the only one busy in the future. Whether it's hiring or borrowing from other departments, it's best to decide ahead of time. As for a voice source, we have so many singers in the company. Anyone will do, Zhu Wen said. Chapter 20. Behind the virtual idol was a team. Fang Zhao could feel it for himself. Even if he and Zhu Wen worked themselves to the bone every day, they wouldn't be able to push the production along effectively. Hiring? Everyone avoided the 50th floor as much as they could, for fear of getting involved. Also, with limited funding, hiring would be difficult. Fang Zhao would have to borrow talent from other departments. After the initial look was finalized, Fang Zhao had to find a voice source and find technicians for the sound system. If he wanted to borrow a technician, he would be paid according to the number of hours he worked. There was no need to rush for now. It wouldn't be too late to borrow someone after he found a suitable voice. Zhu Wen asked Fang Zhao to borrow a singer from the company. Actually, the company had professional dubbers, but they were few in number and already had assignments. Even if they could be hired, the pay wouldn't be cheap. Many of them had dubbed for big names and might not think much of a virtual idol project. Rather than hiring them, Fang Zhao might as well borrow a singer with no assignments. Lower-level singers were more affordable. Even if they were in the same company, they had to keep their accounts straight. Fang Zhao headed over to the new singer. Du Ang was his direct superior, so Fang Zhao went to him first if he needed resources. Du Ang's eyelids had been twitching since he got out of bed this morning. He had a feeling something bad was about to happen, so he went through his work schedule for the next few days, including the completed ones, in-progress ones, and pending ones. He had given instructions for the new singer. He had also reviewed the plans submitted by his agent. There were no major issues. The new composer was doing fine. No problems. The new composer had been delegated to Y.A. Erlin. It was none of his business. Don't worry about it. He had written the report from yesterday's meeting. What else? It seemed he had forgotten a department. Ding. A notification came through. It was his assistant. Boss Du, Fang Zhao is looking for you. Fuck. Duang felt his eyelid twitch even more. For the first time, Duang was more nervous about meeting a subordinate than his boss. He calmed down with a glass of water. Duang took a deep breath, calmed himself down, cleared his voice, and said sternly, "Let him in." As soon as Fang Zhao stepped into Duang's office, he noticed something was off. Duang looked serious and calm, but with Fang Zhao's experience and observational skills, he could tell Duang was tensed up, like Fang Zhao was a ticking time bomb. Pretending not to notice anything, Fang Zhao went straight to the point. "Manager Du, do you want to take a look at the virtual projects? I've been busy lately. Didn't I tell you? You can handle the virtual projects on your own." Duang pointed at a holographic screen next to him, pretending to be serious. Fang Zhao nodded his head as if he did not see the words completed at the end of the hologram. "I've already decided on the virtual image. Zhu Wen is currently working on the initial image. Right now, the department is lacking manpower, so we need to find a voice. I've seen the project plans of previous years. It seems that they still need to find actors. We can borrow technicians after the staff is confirmed, but we can't afford to delay the voice. Do you know any of the new singers who are available? When Fang Zhao said the virtual image had been decided on, Duang was about to say, "Let me see," but when he heard what Fang Zhao said, he swallowed his words. Compared to a virtual image that had no future, he was more concerned about the newcomers under his management. He had already screwed Fang Zhao over. He couldn't afford to lose another. Love go little say netk they've been busy lately. I'm not trying to brush you off. 2 days ago, Beiji and the others were dragged away for special training. It's hard to say when they'll be back. What Duang said was a half-truth. The first part about the rookie singers getting special training was true. Even though they did well in the new talent contest, their singing skills still needed to be improved. To further their careers, their new managers had arranged for training tailored to their weaknesses. Duang had already approved it. The singers weren't in the company, so Fang Zhao couldn't find them even if he wanted to. But to say he wasn't sure when they'd be back would be a lie. How could Duang not know when he approved it himself? Fang Zhao glanced at Duang as he spoke. Duang's eyelid twitched even harder. There's no one here for the newcomers. You can check out the training room on the 51st floor. The company's singers train there when they're free. It's right above you. It's really close. Duang quickly shifted the blame. The floors above and below the 50th floor used to be the Virtual Projects Department's turf. But as the Virtual Projects Department waned, the other floors were reclaimed by the company for other purposes, except for the 50th floor. For example, the 51st floor above the 50th floor was used as a public rehearsal area. After Fang Zhao left Duang's office, he went straight to the 51st floor. Official employees of the company could come here without restrictions, but interns and non-staff personnel couldn't. They had to get in through other channels. Fang Zhao was already an official employee and a project producer on the 50th floor. Of course he had the right to enter. After verifying his identity, Fang Zhao stepped through the door. Once inside, there was a quiet buffer zone, a place to rest and store their belongings. When Fang Zhao entered, there were 7 or 8 people discussing something. When they saw Fang Zhao, they glanced at him curiously. They knew all the familiar faces here, but Fang Zhao was a stranger. In terms of looks, Fang Zhao was only passable. But in a company filled with idols and celebrities, good looks were the norm. Those who were above average were relegated to the background. But because of the virtual projects incident that had been a hot topic on the company's intranet, some people still remembered Fang Zhao. Those who didn't recognize him were about to greet him when someone pulled them aside and whispered something in their ear. Immediately, they shut up. Some pretended not to see Fang Zhao. Others nodded and smiled politely. Their smiles were apologetic and awkward. Fang Zhao didn't mind. He smiled back politely and stepped into the rehearsal area. He passed through another door. When the second door opened, he was greeted by a cacophony of sounds. It was enough to knock people out cold. But Fang Zhao had experienced even more severe vocal disparities during the end of days. He only frowned slightly before walking over to a chair at the side of the rehearsal area and sitting down. The singers who came here to practice were not the big names in the company. Because they had a bit of ability or connections, they would go to the other floors to practice. There were individual practice rooms there, but this was a public place. The singers here all wore earplugs and practiced their own songs. Fang Zhao scanned the crowd. There were about 80 people. Not all of them were singers. Some were employees from other departments in the company who were stressed out by work and had come here to roar a few times. Although there were entertainment karaoke rooms in the company, they weren't for regular employees. If they couldn't find a place, the public rehearsal area was a pretty good way to vent. They didn't even have to pay extra. Some people recognized Fang Zhao and pointed in his direction with their friends. Then they gathered together and whispered. From time to time, they would glance in Fang Zhao's direction. They could roughly guess Fang Zhao's purpose for coming here. In the eyes of others, the producer of the Virtual Projects Department was a useless position with no prospects or power. So even if they recognized Fang Zhao, no one came over to greet him. Fang Zhao didn't care about what others said or how they looked at him. He had been paying attention to the sounds in the rehearsal area ever since he had entered. He only listened to the sound and didn't look at the person. Looks, age, or experience didn't matter. Even if he could fix his voice, Fang Zhao hoped to find a voice source that matched his requirements. His eyes were unfocused. His ears were like a filter, sifting through all the sounds in the rehearsal area. Suddenly, Fang Zhao focused his gaze and looked in the direction of the rehearsal area. There were too many people and other furnishings, so Fang Zhao couldn't see who was making the sound. He got up and walked over. The people who had been talking about Fang Zhao suddenly got up and became interested. They all gathered around curiously. Fang Zhao followed the sound and came to a corner of the rehearsal area. There was a young man who looked like he had just graduated. He was slightly shorter than the people around him, so Fang Zhao hadn't seen him before. His looks were very ordinary, the kind that wouldn't attract much attention in a crowd. If there was anything special about him, it was that his neck was shorter than others. Luckily, he wasn't fat. If he were a little fatter, he probably wouldn't be able to see his neck. The other people practicing seemed to be avoiding this person. The closest one was at least 10 meters away, wearing earplugs and covering his ears. Fang Zhao took a look at the small badge on the person's chest. It was the logo of the company's non-staff. This type of singer was sometimes there to harmonize with others, sometimes there was a shortage of singers and they were called in for emergencies. They weren't considered part of Silver Wing and didn't enjoy any benefits. Their status was even lower than that of an intern. And this type of person was known as a professional extra among singers. Drifting, uncertain of his position, not knowing where he would go next, there was an insignificant vacancy. Chapter 21. Fang Zhao had listened to his vocal practice and guessed he was preparing for a chorus. Noticing Fang Zhao's approach, the person who had been practicing intermittently stopped. Realizing that he was Fang Zhao's target, he immediately became nervous. Sorry, did I disturb you? The guy stammered. No, keep practicing. I'm just listening. Fang Zhao sat down on a chair in the corner. There was no one else around anyway. Everyone was avoiding him, so there was no one sitting on the chair. The guy scratched his head hesitantly. He looked at Fang Zhao, then at the people around him. He opened his mouth but couldn't sing. He felt like there were too many eyes on him. He was too nervous and a little scared. What if he really opened his mouth and scared them? Would they chase him out? After some thought, the guy simply walked to the side and sat down. He would rest for a while and wait for the people around him to divert their attention before singing again. What's your name? Fang Zhao asked. Are you singing in a chorus recently? A chorus at Silver Wing is in need of people. I came to try my luck. The guy clutched his glass nervously. My name is Pang Pusong. Does it sound like a song? Ha ha. Pang Pusong laughed dryly to ease his nerves, but after laughing, he felt even more nervous. He wondered if the guy was going to chase him out. My name is Fang Zhao, Pang Pusong heard the guy say. I'm a producer for a virtual idol project at Silver Wing. A producer. One look and you can tell he's a big shot. Pang Pusong immediately felt a deep sense of respect. The guy looked about the same age as him and was already a producer. No wonder he had such a strong aura. I'm looking for a voice source. I heard your vocal practice and thought it was suitable. But I want to hear it again. Sing that part again. You don't have to hold back. Put away what you did during the chorus. Sing like you usually sing, Fang Zhao said. Pang Pusong felt like he had been hit by a giant pie. His head was a little dizzy. He wondered if he had heard wrong. Sing it again. Yes, the part you just practiced. Don't worry about anything else, Fang Zhao said patiently. Okay. Pang Pusong put down the cup and stood up to sing. He didn't put down the cup properly and it almost rolled to the ground. He didn't even look at it. His face was as serious as if he was going to the battlefield. Pang Pusong was a little hesitant under the attentive gazes around him. He cleared his throat and did not speak. Just keep singing. Why are you looking at them? Fang Zhao asked. Yes. Pang Pusong collected his thoughts. He had come here today to fight for a spot in the chorus. The interview was scheduled for 4 p.m. His uncle had asked a friend to get him a pass to Silver Wing's public rehearsal area. He had practiced there before the interview. He had not expected to come across such a good opportunity. In comparison, a voice was more important than a chorus. It was like the difference between a main character and a supporting character. Pang Pusong tried his best to ignore the attention around him and let go of his worries. He began to repeat the part he had practiced before. At first, she was still a little restrained, but after 2 lines, she didn't hold back anymore. Several singers wearing earplugs were practicing with the accompaniment of the earplugs, but after singing for a while, they couldn't sing anymore. They frowned, turned off the sound of the earplugs, and shouted at Pang Pusong, "If you want to sing, go outside and sing. We don't welcome you here. Yeah, we don't welcome you here. Why don't you ask Fang Zhao to bring you downstairs?" Exactly. If you have the guts, follow Fang Zhao downstairs. You can sing however you want downstairs, the crowd jeered. This time, Pang Pusong was really scared out of his wits. He stared blankly at Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao didn't care about the criticism around him. Instead, he smiled. He was in a good mood. This is a public rehearsal area. That means everyone can sing as much as they want. You can't concentrate and you're blaming others. If you have the guts, why don't you go to the solo rehearsal area? Fang Zhao casually glanced at the few people criticizing him and didn't say anything else. He couldn't be bothered with people he didn't care about. Bullying the weak and fearing the strong was everywhere. Pointing at Pang Pusong, Fang Zhao said, "You, follow me." Pang Pusong was like a lost primary school student. He shrunk his already short neck and followed Fang Zhao out of the public rehearsal area. Someone watched Fang Zhao's back and sneered. "TSK, he really thinks he's a big shot. Fang Zhao is here to find a voice, right?" "Definitely. I wouldn't go even if he begged me. He's just bluffing those who don't know what's going on. Look at that idiot just now." He was still smiling when he left. After leaving the public rehearsal area, Fang Zhao led Pang Pusong to his office on the 50th floor. He asked Pang Pusong if he had any other plans for the time being. If he didn't, he wanted to arrange for a voice as soon as possible. "Nope. Nothing for the time being." Pang Pusong couldn't help but shift to the edge of his chair. He sat up straight nervously and waited for Fang Zhao to continue. "Here's a contract. Take a look." Fang Zhao pulled up the contract from the microcomputer on his desk. These were all templates he had used in the past. He could use them directly with a few modifications. Pang Pusong read the contract seriously and didn't find anything inappropriate. He nodded his head in agreement. Although it was still a temporary partnership and not an official Silver Wing employee, Pang Pusong was so excited that he wanted to jump in joy. After signing the contract, he felt like he was floating on a cloud. He didn't have the appearance to stand in front of the camera, so he had to work behind the scenes. But behind-the-scenes work was divided into primary and secondary. In the past, he'd shared the secondary duties with others. This was his first time signing a solo assignment. He was the star of the show. "I'll report your information to the higher-ups. I'll let you know when the permit is ready," Fang Zhao said. Okay. Thank you. Pang Pusong wanted nothing more than to bow to Fang Zhao. He was so excited on his way out that he bumped into the door. Fang Zhao shook his head. "Forget it. I'll go down with you. I need to look for someone downstairs." Fang Zhao wanted to look for Duang, but he had to escort Pang Pusong downstairs first. Pang Pusong was still in a daze. If something happened to him, where would he find a suitable voice in a short time? As he stepped out of Silver Wing Tower, he saw a fleet of cars flying overhead. Unlike small employees like Fang Zhao and the others, the big-name celebrities worked on higher floors. There were also special parking spaces on the floors, so Fang Zhao didn't get to see them most of the time. That was because they took flying cars directly to their floors. Judging by the cars, they went straight to buildings over 100 floors. They were probably the company's biggest names. "If I could reach their level, I'd die with no regrets," Pang Pusong said enviously, craning his short neck to look up at the sky. Fang Zhao just smiled. Who knows what the future holds? Fang Zhao watched Pang Pusong wait at the bus stop. As he walked into the building, he could hear Pang Pusong excitedly telling his mother the good news. "Hello, Mom. Yes, I came to Silver Wing to practice my voice today. Yes, I used the card my uncle gave me to get in. I didn't cause any trouble, really. I sang at a very low volume, so it didn't affect anyone. But, hey, calm down. Let me finish. Don't think every turn of events is bad news. I signed a contract today. Yes, I have a contract. It's an internal Silver Wing project. It's not a duet, just a solo performance. A producer for a Silver Wing virtual idol project asked me to be the voice. It was like an extra had suddenly been cast as the main character. Even if it was just a small production, wasn't he still the main character? For someone who had played extra roles since he was a kid, this was a milestone in his life. After Fang Zhao entered the building, he told Du Ang about Pang Pusong's entry pass, then went to the 50th floor to check on Zhu Wen's progress. When Pang Pusong had arrived, Zhu Wen had been cooped up in his studio. When he heard Fang Zhao say Pang Pusong had signed the contract, he reflexively said, "Is he stupid?" When he saw Fang Zhao look over, he quickly corrected himself. "No, I mean, he's a really good guy. The contract didn't specify how long it would last. If it was too long, wouldn't it take a year?" Zhu Wen thought Pang Pusong was too young and too gullible. But speaking of the voice source, Zhu Wen's curiosity was piqued. "There are so many people in the public practice area. Why did you pick him?" Fang Zhao thought about it and didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked, "Do you know what momentum is?" Zhu Wen shook his head. Even when he was on the virtual idol project team, he had never heard of it. Momentum is formless and intangible. It can exist in absolute silence and give people a sense of anxiety. It can also exist in sound and evoke feelings of fear, sadness, joy, excitement, and so on. For a singer, singing isn't just about following the tune. They also have to adjust certain elements of the voice to maximize the audience's interest and affect their psyche. That's the power of momentum, Fang Zhao explained. It's like singing the same song. Some people sing it better and others forget it after hearing it, Zhu Wen said. That's right. That's also a technique. When the voice changes, it releases the hidden momentum. It affects the audience's senses and emotions, shocking them to the core. However, some people innately don't need to utilize any other methods to be able to emit force that's even stronger than others. You mean the kid we signed? Yep. It's just that momentum isn't easy to control in a chorus. That's why he suppresses his unique momentum when he practices. He tries his best to be in tune with the others and make himself look like everyone else. He felt that there was a monster sleeping in his voice. This monster made him different from other people. It would disturb others when he sang in chorus, and it would cause rejection when he practiced his voice. It hindered him in every way, so he had been suppressing it. But he doesn't know that it's a hidden force that can affect the entire situation. That's not a monster. That's a gift. Zhu Wen scratched the goosebumps on his arms. He had the feeling that it was a monster, but on second thought, one was a voice monster and the other was a virtual tree monster. What a great combination. A monster dubbing a monster. Perfect timing. He even started to look forward to it. Chapter 22. After the sound source was found, Fang Hui rented professional sound source production equipment. The company's equipment was naturally of the highest quality. It wasn't just the tools used to make the sound source. The other instruments and mechanical tools were all of the highest quality. No matter who it was, no matter which department it was, they would have to pay rent when renting them. Some of the more popular equipment had to be reserved in advance. Fortunately, no one was competing with them for tools related to the virtual idol project, so there was no need for reservations. Fang Zhao went to look for Bu Lai and borrowed the tools he needed from the equipment department. Fang Zhao had borrowed the voice technician from another department. She was also a recent graduate who specialized in songwriting, post-production, and sound editing. But she had just signed with Silver Wing, and because she was a newcomer, When Fang Zhao had gone to borrow her, she had been thrown out of the team. Hi. Hello, my name is Song Miao. I used to be in charge of voice repair. This is my graduation certificate and degree certificate. Song Miao took out her certificate. As soon as she arrived at the virtual projects department, she was a little nervous and could not speak coherently. Fang Zhao took a look at this borrowed employee. His medium-length hair was casually tied into a ponytail at the back of his head. He was wearing a simple hiking outfit and flat shoes. He was obviously dressed like a technician. He was carrying a toolbox and had a tense expression. He was probably not used to his new working environment. After asking a few questions about sound source production, Fang Zhao called Pang Pusong over. Bring Song Miao to the studio over there. Yes. Finally, they were going to start recording. Pang Pusong was also excited. Building a complete sound library required a professional sound system. The equipment had already been set up, and the rest was up to Song Miao to take over. She would be in charge of sound sampling and technical processing to build the sound library. Fortunately, today's equipment was highly intelligent, saving manpower. Otherwise, Song Miao might not be able to do it alone. After arranging the sound source, Fang Zhao went over to Zhu Wen's side to take a look at the production of the image. By the way, do you need someone for the eye model? Zhu Wen asked. Since he was in the form of a treant, he did not expect to have rich facial expressions. The expression in his eyes was very important. Eye models were models who provided visual references for virtual idols. Actors who weren't good-looking, didn't have power or money, and were unlucky enough to get any resources had a relatively low status in the entertainment industry. It was difficult for them to stand in front of the camera, and they didn't usually take on many films or important roles. Some of them would take on other tasks, such as providing eye references for virtual idols. For virtual projects that did not have high requirements, they would directly look for references from the database, such as a certain scene in a previous movie, and apply the acting skills of those skilled actors to the virtual characters. However, for virtual projects with high requirements, they would hire professionals to provide reference for different scenarios. Even for the best actors and actresses, their performances were based on certain scenes in the film and the inner thoughts of the characters they were playing. If the virtual idol had a different background and role, it would be inappropriate to use those same methods, and it would give off a weird vibe. Some people who were against virtual idols often criticized virtual idols for copying and imitating their acting skills. But the teams behind the virtual idols didn't care. That was how virtual idols were. Everyone was like that. As long as the audience bought in, it was fine. Zhu Wen had asked because he had noticed that Fang Zhao was taking the project too seriously. I told Steward Du about this yesterday. He said that he would help to see if there are any suitable candidates. As Fang Zhao spoke, Du Ang brought someone up to the 50th floor. Even though Du Ang didn't want to be involved in the virtual idol project, his position was tied to it. He couldn't be completely ignorant. After asking Fang Zhao about the virtual idols out of curiosity, Du Ang didn't speak for a long time. He sat in his office, deep in thought. He even considered overturning Fang Zhao's previous assignment and taking over the job himself. But then Du Ang thought it through. He knew he wasn't a creative genius. No matter what Fang Zhao thought, since the project was officially underway, he would let Fang Zhao handle it. Even if it failed, even if he was ridiculed, it would be a learning experience. Setbacks were a good thing for young people. After all, no matter how badly the project failed, the company wouldn't blame it entirely on a newcomer like Fang Zhao. After Fang Zhao had approached Du Ang the day before, Du Ang had asked a few friends who managed actors. Whether it was singers or actors in the company, they all had different grades. According to their contracts, they were graded from lowest to highest, from D to A. The top-notch S-grade actors weren't included. They were something else entirely. D-grade actors were usually newcomers or marginal characters. Du Ang's standards were high, so he wasn't interested in them. That was why when he asked his old friends for help, he asked those with C-grade and B-grade actors. I can't give you B-grade actors. I'm saving them for A-grade ones. Nothing can go wrong. But I can take a look at C-grade actors. That was the response from Du Ang's old friend the day before. He had brought the actor over today. Doong thought it was good enough to have a C-grade actor running the show. Although C-grade actors weren't as good as better actors, they definitely had an edge over others. If worse came to worst, he could just use footage from his database. That would save him a lot of trouble. This is G. Polan. He acted in a movie about the period of destruction. He should be able to help you. Doong gave a brief introduction and left. Fang Zhao looked at this newly borrowed actor. He had heard that he was a C-grade actor, but he did not know how big of a difference there was between actors of different grades. He did not have many memories of this, so he was still rather courteous to this actor. After all, he had come to help them. But unlike Song Miao, who was nervous and restrained, this actor had the air of a star. Needless to say, he was good-looking. Celebrities in this era couldn't be too shabby. His hair was neatly combed, he was tall and straight, and he carried himself with an air of suaveness and elegance, but it was all an act. G. Polan scanned the floor's furnishings with a fastidious gaze. He looked at Fang Zhao and the others with undisguised arrogance and haughtiness. Let's get started. What kind of scene are you shooting? I don't have much time. G. Polan flicked the non-existent dust off his sleeves and walked inside. Zhu Wen looked at Fang Zhao. When Fang Zhao nodded, he led G. Polan to the recording studio. This way. Fang Zhao gave a brief rundown of the background of the scene. G. Polan cut him off. Okay, I got it. I've acted in everything you mentioned. Step aside. He looked at Zhu Wen. Pay attention. It's starting. Fang Zhao didn't say anything. He retreated to a chair beside Zhu Wen and sat down. He wasn't angry at G. Polan's attitude. He just needed to get a good shot. After G. Polan had steadied his emotions, he put his all into his performance. Even though G. Polan had an arrogant attitude and looked down on others, he was still very serious when it came to acting. It was just that. I think we should just look up some relevant scenes from the database. Zhu Wen wrote a few words on his bracelet. G. Polan was still acting, so he couldn't say it out loud. G. Polan was acting very seriously. Fang Zhao could tell he wasn't doing it half-heartedly, but there was still a clear gap between him and the more capable actors. The gap was even more obvious when it came to eye contact. Recently, Zhu Wen had watched too many films about the period of destruction. Watching Zhu Wen's acting now made him feel a little awkward. He might as well just use the database. Fang Zhao's brows furrowed even more. After reading what Zhu Wen had written, he stood up and walked over to G. Polan, patting him on the shoulder. What are you doing? Can't you see I'm acting? G. Polan wasn't happy. Do you know what it means to be in harmony with the situation? My train of thought has been interrupted. Chapter 23. G. Polan pointed at himself suspiciously. Were you talking to me just now? Fang Zhao nodded and repeated, please stand aside. Love go little say net w. G. Polan stared at Fang Zhao incredulously, like he was looking at a lunatic. After confirming Fang Zhao wasn't joking, his expression twisted. He got up and strode away. Fine. Don't say I'm not playing along. He had given his agent face by coming over. Not only were they not grateful, they were looking down on him. G. Polan walked toward the door with large strides, but just as he was about to step out of the door, he stopped, turned around, and sat down heavily on a chair beside Zhu Wen. He didn't bother pretending anymore. Instead, he crossed his arms and crossed his legs. He wanted to see what this guy was going to do. From the looks of it, Fang Zhao was going to do it himself. TSK, I heard this guy was just a rookie composer, yet he was dreaming of being an actor. Did he think acting was like playing video games? Naive. Who did he think he was? A rookie like him would be a D-grade contract employee, one rank lower than G. Polan. G. Polan started wondering what he should say if Fang Zhao's performance sucked. What would he say to get back at Fang Zhao for driving him away? Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to take it lying down. Preposterous. Fang Zhao didn't care what G. Polan was thinking. He didn't care about the way G. Polan was looking at him. He gestured to Zhu Wen to reshoot the scene. Fang Zhao did not know what techniques G. Polan and the other actors had to display when they were acting. G. Polan had just said to blend in with the scene, but G. Polan had only been hypothesizing. He had placed himself in the scene that his brain had imagined. Love Go Little Say Net W Kit wasn't just G. Polan. The other actors were probably the same. No one had truly experienced that despairing era. Everything they knew was from images. Except Fang Zhao himself. Although there had been electronic recordings of the period of destruction, and many films had been made in the new era, the development of virtual technology had allowed people to get closer to those images and experience them more deeply. But no matter how profound their experiences were, they could not compare to Fang Zhao, a person who had truly lived through that era. Fang Zhao imitated G. Polan and closed his eyes for a few seconds before opening them. Sitting there, G. Polan's entire body trembled. He uncrossed his legs and couldn't help but lean forward. The casualness faded from his face and was replaced by seriousness. It was as if he was listening to a dirge of the world. Fang Zhao's bloodshot eyes glistened with tears, but no tears fell. What he revealed was endless sorrow and helplessness. The heavens fell and the earth cracked. His home was destroyed and people died. Only in the face of natural disasters did they feel that all living things were so insignificant and helpless. At that moment, the sadness and depression that burst out swept through the whole studio like the wind. G. Polan took a deep breath. All of this was done by Fang Zhao alone, in this enclosed space without any background. There was no one to act with, and from start to finish, he did not have a single line. He just sat there and did not even move his body. Only his facial expression and the emotions revealed in his eyes played out the emotions of his character. Even a blink of an eye seemed to be timed precisely. If he had been a step faster or half a beat slower, he would not have achieved such an effect. G. Polan thought back to his own performance. Compared to Fang Zhao's, it seemed slightly exaggerated and artificial. It lacked a real sense of touch. When he was learning acting, G. Polan had heard his teacher say that grief could not be expressed through screaming and crying. Sometimes, just a look was enough. Was this person really not a professional actor? Countless classic movie clips from the period of destruction floated through G. Polan's mind, but none of them matched. Fang Zhao was not imitating any of those clips. G. Polan even had a feeling that this person was not acting. He had really experienced that catastrophe and lived in that era. By the way, what kind of virtual character did they choose? What was his personality like? Miscalculation. He had actually started acting according to his imagination without even knowing anything. This was a huge taboo. Perhaps it was because he had heard his agent's nonchalant tone that he had not paid much attention to it. G. Polan did not say anything. Fang Zhao continued to act according to his original script. He did not need anyone to remind him. No one knew better than he did what he had planned. This was a scene without any dialogue. The focus of the so-called eye model was only the eyes. Inside the studio, everyone's breathing was light. Only the sound of Zhu Wen fiddling with his equipment could be heard. But both Zhu Wen and G. Polan could feel the atmosphere in this small studio changing. Repressed sorrow, suffocating despair, loss, hesitation. Where was the path to survival? It was like a bee trapped in a room searching for light to navigate itself. Time passed minute by minute. Fang Zhao only ended the recording when Song Miao ran into a problem with the sound source. Take a break. Fang Zhao let Zhu Wen take a break. He got up and left the studio, heading for the sound source. When he got up, Fang Zhao had completely detached himself from the previous situation. He was back to normal. Removed from the mood so quickly, G. Polan was dumbfounded. After Fang Zhao left, G. Polan went over to ask Zhu Wen, "That Fang Zhao, is he really just a composer? Has he never studied acting?" "I don't know if he has, but I do know that he is a professional composer. He made it to 5th place in the new talent competition in 20 days. You should have heard of him," Zhu Wen said. G. Polan knew all this, but Fang Zhao's performance made him suspicious. "Hey, aren't you leaving?" Zhu Wen thought G. Polan would leave in a fit of anger, but G. Polan didn't seem to have any intention of doing so. "Leave? Why would I leave?" "Right, do you have a music video and a more detailed introduction to your virtual character?" "Let me see," G. Polan asked. Zhu Wen looked at Ji Polan in astonishment and handed him the documents from his drawer. In any case, Ji Polan had signed a confidentiality agreement when he arrived. The documents were meant for him to read, but Ji Polan didn't want to read them. The next day, Zhu Wen didn't count on Ji Polan anymore. Fang Zhao could handle it. But Ji Polan came to the 50th floor the next day. Don't look at me. Pretend I'm not here. You guys continue. Which part were you at? Did you transform? Ignoring Fang Zhao and Zhu Wen's gazes, Ji Polan pulled over a chair and sat down. He watched intently from the side. Not just the next day, but for the next few days, Ji Polan was there the entire time. He didn't do much, just sit in the studio and watch. It was as if he was going to stay and not leave. Although Ji Polan had a lot of small problems, he was a motivated actor. Fang Zhao didn't chase him away. When the required part was finally finished, Ji Polan couldn't help but approach Fang Zhao. Can I ask, what's on your mind the most when you're performing? He wanted to know how Fang Zhao was able to incorporate his emotions into the scene and then express them so vividly. When Fang Zhao heard this, he paused in the act of drinking water and said very seriously, background music. Ji Polan. Ji Polan suddenly remembered something his university teacher had said. Don't try to ask a professional composer what's on their mind. They might walk, eat, and drink with background music. Chapter 24. Fang Zhao wanted to express a certain emotion, not necessarily a certain scene, but a certain piece of music. Just as programmers turned everything into programming languages, Fang Zhao turned everything into music. He had already chosen the song for the music video. It had been composed during the end of days and was incomplete. He had only recently completed it and rearranged it, with a few changes made to Pang Pusong's voice. He had thought about some scenes during the recording process, but his memories of the early years of the apocalypse were hazy. Only the music he had composed back then remained in his mind. Every time he recalled the incomplete music, Fang Zhao would relive the feelings of the early days of the apocalypse. After projecting the recorded footage onto the virtual character, Zhu Wen showed Fang Zhao a sample. On one side of the screen was a pair of brown eyes surrounded by rough, cracked bark. On the other side was an image of Fang Zhao's eyes. Is it the same? Are you satisfied? Zhu Wen asked. Fang Zhao nodded. They were clearly different eyes, but they showed the same expression and emotions, as if the same soul had been placed in two different bodies. The reg dimension was amazing. Perhaps this was why virtual idols from the reg dimension were so attractive. Many times, even though they looked very different from humans, it was easy to forget that they were virtual, as if they were real beings with souls. As long as you're satisfied. Zhu Wen flexed his arms. The initial look is complete. Now it's time to make the music video. It's best to hire more people, even one more. If it's just me, who knows how long it'll take to finish the CD. If you want to see the finished product by the end of the year, you'll have to borrow someone. Zhu Wen had been so busy recently that he hadn't even played games. I've asked. The people you mentioned who knew about the reg dimension didn't want to come. The company didn't hire anyone this year. A lot of them were washed out last year, so the company won't be able to borrow anyone, Fang Zhao explained. Then poach people from outside. Those small companies or private studios can also be outsourced. However, companies generally don't agree with outsourcing for this kind of project. They usually handle it internally. You can see if you can poach people from outside. There are so many graduates this year, and there should be quite a number who haven't found a job yet, right? Let's trick a few over first, Zhu Wen suggested as he sorted through the samples. Zhu Wen's words reminded Fang Zhao of someone. Don't you have to have a few years of experience to be a reg dimension technician? Don't ask for too much. The most important thing now is to get someone to help us. I'm so tired recently. Zhu Wen returned to his studio to continue working. Fang Zhao returned to his office and sent Zheng Huang a message. Soon, Zheng Huang contacted him. What's the matter, Big Zhao? The project is not progressing smoothly. Zheng Huang also knew that Fang Zhao had been given a virtual idol project. He had even asked Fang Zhao if he needed any help. At the time, Fang Zhao had said he didn't know much about the project and didn't need any help for the time being. Is your team busy? Can you take on work privately? Fang Zhao asked. You need someone on your side? Yes, we need technicians in the reg dimension. If you don't have time, do you know anyone who hasn't found a job or is changing jobs? You don't have to be very skilled. You just have to be good enough. Reg space technician? There weren't many technical requirements. Can't find a job or want to change jobs? Yes, do you have any recommendations? Me. I was thinking of changing jobs. You know, I just graduated and didn't come from a great school. My pay is definitely average. I was thinking of changing jobs. Since you are short of people, it's perfect. Zhu Wen had said that he would dupe people over to help, but when Fang Zhao had spoken to Zheng Huang, he had told him the truth about the current situation. Zheng Huang and the others had lent a helping hand when Fang Zhao had been in dire straits. Zheng Huang listened to Fang Zhao and said he would think about it, but he replied in less than 10 minutes. Big Zhao, do you need anyone else? WNU and I will go over to help you. She knows a bit about reg dimension technology, but she's better at post-production. Do you need her? Yes, Fang Zhao said with a smile. Thank you. Hey, who's with whom? Big Zhao, don't put too much pressure on yourself. We are still young. Even if we fail, just treat it as a learning experience. It's good to have more adventures. Got it? As long as you understand. Let's do it this way. WNU and I will join you tomorrow. Like Pang Pusong, Zheng Huang, WNU, and the others had signed a temporary contract. They were not considered formal employees. This was a temporary employment relationship with no guarantees. Fang Zhao had told them all this, but Zheng Huang had still decided to come help. Given the current state of Silver Wing's virtual projects, Zheng Huang and the others had no other motive than to help Fang Zhao. Zheng Huang was still depressed. Why was Fang Zhao's luck so bad this year? He could forget about the previous one. He had made a name for himself in the new talent contest, but he had been thrown into this hole. Zheng Huang and WNU didn't want to see their own brothers begging for help, so they quit their jobs and came over. They were still young anyway. There were plenty of opportunities in the future, so they chose to help Fang Zhao. The next day, Zheng Huang and WNU came to Silver Wing to look for Fang Zhao. After signing the contract, Fang Zhao got them entry passes. Besides Zheng Huang and WNU, Beiji, who had been dragged away for training, also came over to help. Beiji knew he had Fang Zhao to thank for his success in the new talent contest. He had heard that Silver Wing was going to refurbish the facilities, so he came over to help. Huh. They actually let you come over. Aren't they afraid you'll be affected? Zhu Wen asked when he saw Beiji. Beiji didn't mind. It's fine. Classes are over. The next assignment hasn't started yet. I have 3 days off, so I came over to help out. Pang Pusong, Song Miao, and Beiji busied themselves outside. Fang Zhao was in the studio discussing the music video with Zhu Wen and Zhang Huang. Since it was about the end of days, it was inevitable that some mutated creatures from the apocalypse would be included. Zhu Wen showed Fang Zhao some of the mutated creatures he had sorted out. Remove this one, Fang Zhao said, pointing to one. Why? Zhu Wen asked. I've never seen it before. Because he hadn't seen it before and didn't know if it existed, Fang Zhao chose to remove the ones he wasn't familiar with. Hey, you make it sound like you've seen it before. Zhu Wen didn't dwell on it. He removed the mutated creature on the screen. This one, make the head a little smaller, Fang Zhao said, pointing to another. Like this. A little smaller. Like this. That's too much. Let me do it. Fang Zhao looked at the floating image and raised his hand to touch up the head. Although it didn't feel real, this kind of intelligent image retouching could be done by non-technicians. It was like molding clay figurines. It looks weird, Zhu Wen said. It's not weird. They look like this. Remove their beards. No beards. No way. I remember watching a lot of movies about the period of destruction. They all have beards in them. Zhu Wen went to do some research. He had already downloaded the information on the creatures from an authoritative magazine. The information was compiled by professors who specialized in the study of the creatures of the period of destruction. It had cost him quite a bit of money to download it, but it was all deducted from the project's budget. In the movie I starred in, this one also had beards. G. Polan, who had been watching from the side, chimed in. That one of yours was purely fictional. Fang Zhao had seen G. Polan's movie about the period of destruction. There were too many things to complain about, but it was just a commercial film. He couldn't take it too seriously. This isn't the real version either. G. Polan remembered that the virtual image for this project wasn't real either. I call the shots for my version, Fang Zhao said simply. Fine. You're the boss of this project. You call the shots. Zhu Wen had also found the historical information on the mutated creature. He pulled up the image from the magazine. It really doesn't have beards. The next few mutated creatures that Fang Zhao wanted altered were all the same as the images in the authoritative magazines. This time, Zhu Wen didn't flip through them. It was G. Polan who did the research. When he was done, he said, "You're good." Chapter 25. While the 50th floor was busy, Duang was in his office on a video call with an old friend. G. Polan was visiting the 50th floor every day. His agent was starting to worry. G. Polan hadn't been willing to help before. Why was he so eager to help now? There had to be some unspeakable truth behind it. I heard your producer is from the Black Street. Could he have forced him to stay and help? G. Polan's agent speculated. Not done yet. I heard a couple of days ago they were done with the eye modeling. Duang was puzzled. That's why I feel something's off. I'm not in Qian City right now. Old Du, you should go take a look for yourself. Maybe it was your producer who used some underhanded means. I heard that the people from the Black Street are pretty ruthless. His words were tactful, implying that he suspected Fang Zhao had used force to coerce him. Wait a minute. Fang Zhao only rented a house on the Black Street. He didn't grow up on the Black Street. Also, the Black Street isn't a gang. Don't discriminate. I lived on the Black Street when I was younger. G. Polan's agent was about to say something else when Duang beat him to it. Fine, fine. I understand what you're talking about. I'll go check it out in a bit. Don't worry, it's fine. Fang Zhao isn't the kind of person you make him out to be. After hanging up, Duang realized it had been a while since he'd checked out the 50th floor. Even without G. Polan's incident, as the boss, he still had to go through the motions. He took the elevator to the 50th floor. As soon as the doors opened, Duang saw G. Polan carrying a piece of equipment, laughing tiredly. Duang. He suddenly doubted his own judgment. He couldn't slap an idol who depended on his looks. He'd have to pay a hefty sum. Even his entire month's salary wouldn't be enough. Hey, little G, come here for a second. G. Polan put down his equipment when he saw it was Duang Du and checked G. Polan and didn't see any signs of a beating. He asked, "Aren't you done with the eye modeling? Why are you still here?" "Nothing else. I just wanted to help out here," G. Polan replied. Duang looked around. The 50th floor had changed a lot. Maybe it was because there were more people. Duang glanced at Beiji, who was helping with the load, and asked, "Where's Fang Zhao?" "Just entered the office." G. Polan pointed toward Fang Zhao's office. Fang Zhao was about to come out when Duang arrived. "Manager Du, you came just in time. I was just about to look for you," Fang Zhao said. "The song is about to start recording. Help me book a recording studio. Is the song ready?" Duang accepted the hard copy of the score from Fang Zhao and received the encrypted demo file. He took out his earbuds and gave it a listen. He wanted to know what Fang Zhao's song was like. Just by looking at the score, there was still some confusion, but after listening to the sample, it became clear. No wonder he felt weird looking at the score. So Fang Zhao had chosen this style. Duang jerked his head up and stared at Fang Zhao. You did this to yourself?" "Yes. This is the song for the music video." Duang's voice rose. Others who were moving stuff looked over curiously. "Yes." Fang Zhao wasn't surprised by Duang's attitude. Hang on. Don't do anything else. Wait for my update. Duang left in a hurry. As for why he was there, he wasn't in the mood to think about it. Duang had only one thing on his mind. He had to consult with someone and decide if he should release the song. Both Y.A. Erlin, the head of the arrangement department, and Julian from operations were hastily summoned by Duang. I say, old Du, why did you call us here in such a hurry? What happened? Did something go wrong with the virtual idol project? Let me make this clear, I'm not going to get involved with the virtual idol project, Y.A. Erlin said as he entered Duang's office with Julian. Duang didn't say a word. He just handed Y.A. Erlin and Julian 2 sets of earbuds. What's going on? So secretive. Y.A. Erlin put on the earbuds casually, but he quickly froze. A look of surprise also appeared on Julian's face as he asked, Where did this come from? A new song by Pegasus? No, it's not. Without waiting for Duang's reply, Y.A. Erlin said, at first glance, the style sounds similar, but there's still a big difference. It's definitely not the work of Pegasus. Besides, a demo from Pegasus wouldn't be this crude. By Pegasus, Y.A. Erlin and Julian were referring to one of Silver Wing's top studios, Flying Pegasus. Y.A. Erlin had tried countless times to get in, but to no avail. Flying Pegasus was home to Silver Wing's top composers, arrangers, and other top talents. But if it's not the work of Pegasus, who is it? Julian didn't know much about composition or arrangement, but she knew if the song was released, it would be a huge hit. Who else in the company other than Pegasus could produce a song of this style? If there were, they would have been sucked into Flying Pegasus a long time ago. Who? Old Du, who in the company composed this song? Y.A. Erlin pressed. Julian was a layman, but as a veteran arranger, even though it was only an incomplete demo, he could tell how extraordinary it was. Duang had a strange expression on his face, a little proud, a little pitiful, and an indescribable mix of emotions. After a moment of silence, Duang said, Fang Zhao. Who? Duang rubbed his ears, which had been pricked by their shrill voices, and sighed. Fang Zhao is the composer of this song. Y.A. Erlin and Julian didn't speak, but they both stared at Duang with the same expression. Are you fucking kidding me? Hey, I'm not lying. That kid really gave it to me. I came down to discuss it with you guys as soon as I got it. Y.A. Erlin inhaled sharply, still in disbelief. Fang Zhao composed it at his age. So what if he's young? Don't forget Fang Zhao's performance in the new talent contest. Duang hated to hear his composers doubted. But this song is completely different from the one in the new talent contest. This is, Y.A. Erlin was a little excited, but he didn't finish his sentence. He couldn't jump to conclusions without hearing the finished product. Don't talk nonsense. I asked you guys to come here to help me make a decision. Do you think we should release this song or not? Will anything go wrong if we release it? Duang was worried. Release it. Why not? Y.A. Erlin was even more enthusiastic than Duang. Duang looked at Julian, waiting for her response. If Julian didn't agree, they couldn't release the song even if they produced it. Julian met Duang's gaze and smiled faintly. I agree with Y.A. Erlin. It's a shame we don't release a song like this. It's rare that I get a chance to listen to it in its entirety. Julian used to like the works of Flying Pegasus very much, but Flying Pegasus's works rarely released complete songs. Even if he paid to download them, there was no way to do so. As managers, they didn't have the right to hire Flying Pegasus. Fine, release it then. Fang Zhao said he can start recording any time. As for the recording studio, Duang looked at Y.A. Erlin. I'll make an appointment for him. Y.A. Erlin was familiar with the people in charge of the recording floor. It was much easier for him to make an appointment than for Duang. Chapter 26. It was already the middle of September. The new talent period lasted for a year. After the new talent competition in June, Fang Zhao had disappeared from the new talent charts for close to a quarter. Now, the charts were filled with new songs. Songs from the previous season had long been replaced. Of course, Zun Huai and Fei Lizi still dominated the chart, but their songs had been replaced by new ones. Fang Zhao had almost been forgotten by people. Perhaps a small portion of people still remembered that song from last season and the dark horse that had suddenly soared to fame at the end of last season, but the internet was always forgetful. In this era of rapid development, the memories of the internet's masses seemed to have been shortened, and the endless stream of new things always attracted their attention. Fang Zhao sat in the large lecture hall, listening to the lecturer talk about the history of virtual idols and analyze the charms of popular virtual idols. Virtual is a form of art. Moving the virtual into the real, and the virtual and the real coexist. Less than a tenth of the thousands of seats in the lecture hall were scattered. Fang Zhao recorded some of the more important information in his notebook. He wrote it by hand without the aid of any electronic devices. A few people in the lecture hall recognized Fang Zhao. As one of the top graduates, Fang Zhao had appeared on the school's forum a lot. Some people who didn't know the truth wondered why Fang Zhao was here in class. When told the reason, they felt it was a pity and looked at Fang Zhao sympathetically. They thought about what the other top graduates were doing, then looked at Fang Zhao sitting alone in this unpopular lecture hall. How should they put it? No matter how strong he was, he couldn't withstand bad luck after bad luck. What a pity. After class ended, the students left the lecture hall in twos and threes. Fang Zhao packed his things and planned to return to the office. Fang Zhao, Chu Hong, who had just walked over from the lectern, called out to Fang Zhao. "Did you understand the lecture?" Chu Hong asked. It wasn't that he was looking down on Fang Zhao's IQ, but he knew the class was too unpopular at school. Fang Zhao had never taken virtual idol classes before, so he wasn't sure if Fang Zhao could handle the speed of his lectures. Chu Guang had told him about Fang Zhao. He had to show some appreciation. Yes, Fang Zhao said. Actually, he had already understood most of what Chu Hong had said from the online courses. This class was just to deepen his understanding. You can ask me if you don't understand. I heard from Chu Guang that you've been busy with the virtual project. How's the progress? Chu Hong asked. Not bad, almost there. That's good. Chu Hong didn't ask too many questions. He wouldn't get an answer if he did. This was a company secret and couldn't be divulged. So Chu Hong didn't ask about the progress of the project. Instead, as a lecturer, he asked Fang Zhao if he needed any guidance on virtual idols. Then he went on to talk about the characteristics and highlights of popular virtual idols. Virtual idols these days have to be good-looking. That's the most basic requirement. You know that, right? Yes, I know. Fang Zhao nodded. What does the virtual idol look like? Chu Hong was curious. What kind of virtual idol would an amateur from the composition department come up with? It can't be considered pretty, Fang Zhao replied. He said it in such a roundabout way. Did he mean that it wasn't good-looking? Chu Hong was in a dilemma. She couldn't even pass the test of her appearance. What else could he say? After Fang Zhao left, Chu Hong sent Chu Guang a text message. Your classmate, Fang Zhao, how's the project going? Have you seen their virtual idols? Chu Guang happened to be free at the moment, so he contacted Chu Hong via video conference. I heard that the project is almost done. It might be launched soon, but I haven't seen what it looks like. Manager Du is keeping it a secret and won't let us ask, Chu Guang said. Then it probably won't end well. Recalling Fang Zhao's comment that the idols weren't good-looking and that the producer was a layman, Chu Hong wasn't optimistic. Nobody's optimistic about the company, but Manager Du's been acting a little weird lately. He's been in the office with the heads of 2 other departments, talking for 2 or 3 hours at a time. Whatever they're up to, you should have prepared the song for the final season by now, right? I heard from your mom that you've even hired her former teacher to guide you. You're confident you can take 3rd place, right? I heard from your mom yesterday that if it weren't for those 2 virtual idols, you could have taken 1st place. Chu Hong smiled. Chu Guang's tone was relaxed. 3rd place, I think, should be no problem. It wasn't just Chu Guang and company. Everyone else in the industry was also eyeing the year-end finale. The last season of the year was about to begin. Those who had achieved good results in the past 3 seasons were eager for a good ending. If they could achieve a good result on the leaderboard at the end of the year, they might even get a bigger year-end bonus. After 2 seasons of accumulated popularity, the advantages and disadvantages were already obvious. The resources were no longer evenly distributed. The good ones were better, the bad ones were worse. As for Neon Culture and Tongshan True Entertainment, they planned to boost the popularity of their virtual idols in the final season. The first films of the 2 virtual idols were about to be released as well. They started promoting early, keeping an eye on the finale. Even the industry's most popular media outlet, Prairie Fire, declared that the final season would be a battle between Tongshan True Entertainment and Neon Culture. Between Zun Huai and Fei Lizhi, which of the 2 new virtual idols would emerge victorious? The article even used the words Yangju Derby, meaning it would be a clash between the 2 strongest companies in Yangju. Silver Wing Media's supporters chuckled when they saw the headline. Yangju Derby? Did they ask us? Was the talk about Yenzhou's Big 3 bullshit? You guys gobbled up Silver Wing? Of course, under the attack of the protesters, the media's explanation was that they were referring to Yenzhou's 2 strongest virtual idol companies and nothing else. However, those with a bit of intelligence would know that this was done on purpose. The general public, who didn't understand the industry, thought Neon Culture and Tongshan True Entertainment were the only 2 in Yangju. But Silver Wing's people were helpless. Virtual idols were indeed Silver Wing's weakness. Their weakness was indescribable. Every word they uttered was painful. Some media outlets even started a bet called Yangju Derby, betting on who would take first place in the year-end newcomer competition. Amidst the buzz, the popularity of the 2 new virtual idols, Zun Huai and Fei Lizhi, rose once again, just as the companies behind them had predicted. Amidst all sorts of speculations, September passed and October arrived. The final season of the year kicked off. October 1st. Without any warning or advance advertising campaign, Julian ordered all the advertising channels that had been arranged in advance to be fully opened as soon as it was past 8 o'clock. There was an order to the allocation of resources for the newcomers. At the beginning of the new talent competition, everyone's resources were equal and randomly selected. Whoever prepared first would go first. But after the new talent competition, the rest of the rookie season would be allocated based on talent and the company's attitude toward the newcomer. The more optimistic the newcomer, the higher the ranking. For the final season of the new talent competition, the order of resources was as follows: first in line, Divine Punishment, by Polar Light, composer Polar Light. Second in line, Gorgeous Dance, by Enoch, composer Chu Guang. Chu Guang was dumbfounded when he saw the order of resources. This was different from what had been agreed upon. Why was he ranked second in the promotion order? Even his biggest competitor, Glorious Light, had been pushed to 3rd place. Where did the person in 1st place come from? What right did he have to be ranked first? Who was Polar Light? If not for the fact that the song was different, he would have thought his name had been typed incorrectly. When he saw the music video behind Divine Punishment, Chu Guang was even angrier. He had thought that only he and Rong Zheng would receive music video treatment because of their outstanding performances. How could this newcomer get it too? But when he looked again, the singer and composer were all the same, and there was a music video. This was the standard for a virtual idol's debut. Chapter 27. Chu Guang was puzzled, but before he could figure out the reason, he wasn't about to ask. He decided to listen to the song first. Was it because of the singer's ability, or because of the special status of virtual idols? Zhong Xian wondered. Silver Wing had many screening rooms, and some offices also had equipment for music videos. After signing the contract, Chu Guang had his own office, and there was a fully equipped screening room near the offices of the newcomers. So Chu Guang decided to go to the screening room and use the equipment there to listen to the song. What kind of song was it that had gotten 1st place? When he arrived at the screening room, Chu Guang was surprised to see Rong Zheng and the rest of the newcomers there. Rong Zheng had a strange expression on his face, a mixture of surprise and disbelief, but no indignation. You're here. Let's listen together. Rong Zheng pointed to a chair beside him. Chu Guang sat in the chair, watching the holographic image projected by the equipment. The high-quality audio equipment transmitted every sound clearly. Was it electronic music, rock music, or some other popular genre? The moment the music started, Chu Guang was shocked to discover that it was none of those. In the image, looking ahead, there was an endless forest, lush and full of life. Whether it was flowers or trees, they all appeared in a humanoid form. The trunks of the trees had eyes, noses, mouths, and other features. It was a peaceful scene. But the next moment, the blue sky was covered with a layer of red. The horn sounded in his ears with an unsettling cadence, hovering in the lower register. The seemingly uncoordinated intervals conveyed a deep sense of anxiety. The strings foretold the impending disaster, as if someone was sobbing. A symphony. Chu Guang was so shocked he almost stood up. In the image, fiery meteorites hurtled toward the earth. Panicked creatures fell into the abyss of despair as the earth cracked open without warning. Heavy drumbeats sounded like rolling thunder from afar, growing from weak to strong, from slow to rapid, creating an uneasy tremor. Thump thump, thump thump. It was hard to tell whether it was the sound of a boulder crashing into the ground, a mountain collapsing, or someone's heavy heartbeat. An atmosphere of panic and fear spread. After a deafening chorus of orchestral and percussion instruments, a low voice hummed for a short while. Unlike the high-pitched singing of the songs and dances that Chu Guang was familiar with, this voice was full of wildness and nature, as if it was the lament of the tree-shaped figure in the video. The sound carried a kind of magical power, through the sound equipment, radiating to every nerve in the brain. The tense orchestral music started again. The percussion rhythmically vibrated the eardrums, and the electronic synthesizer created a variety of timbre arrangements, making the atmosphere more and more uneasy. The illusory vibrations seemed to invade from the distant sky. The world was sick. The heavy percussion and the forceful playing of the wind instruments revealed the violent and bloodthirsty nature of the mutated creatures. Everywhere was filled with those brutal figures. The surroundings were littered with broken branches and wreckage. Towering trees that had been growing for an unknown number of years had fallen. Some were smashed by falling boulders, some were broken by the violent tremors of the earth, and some were torn to shreds by the moving figures. Everything was trampled to death by this disaster. In the face of natural disasters, all living things were so insignificant. The sun was blocked by a thick layer of dust, and the remaining warmth was constantly weakened by the danger. The melody of the piano and wind instruments appeared in the ears. It represented the theme of doomsday calamity, opening up a bleak scene of corpses strewn all over the land. The ever-changing string music, the well-arranged arrangement, and the high-quality sound equipment transmitted the movement to the brain with high fidelity. It was as if there was a supernatural force pulling at the soul, causing people to involuntarily enter that period of history filled with smoke and fire. The symphonic ultrabass was imposing, carrying a heavy historical connotation. Even if one closed their eyes, the heavy vicissitudes of life, suffering, and a world riddled with holes would appear in their minds. That was a period of history that everyone in the new era knew. The 100-year period of destruction. The bass did not lose its exquisite performance, as if it was weeping and complaining. The video was full of devastation, and the electronic music simulated the changes that traditional instruments could not achieve. With an unconventional arrangement, it was like a strange and treacherous music speaker, creating a frightening atmosphere. The timbre gradually changed, once again intensifying the restlessness in the heart. It was filled with anxiety and panic. In this sick world, it was a chaotic and tragic scene. There were countless deaths and injuries. The once dense forest had become dilapidated and miserable. Mutated berserk beasts gnawed on those innocent creatures that had already died. Flames soared into the sky. The focused figure in the video looked at everything that was happening around him, endless sorrow and confusion in his eyes. Love go little say net w, Chu, is this the end of the world? Is life going to end because of this? A low humming gradually rose in his ears. It seemed to come from the bottom of his heart, mourning for the dead creatures and uncertainty about the future. The music gradually became louder, and the mournful wind music was mixed with the rhythmic sound of stones falling to the ground. The pause of the heavy and long notes seemed to hint at some hesitation in his heart, but the following wind fanfare that sounded like a horn reawakened his desire for survival. Danger was approaching. This land was no longer suitable for survival. Should he hide in a dark corner and beg for luck in this chaotic world to drag out an ignoble existence, or should he find another way out? He stood on the edge of light and shadow, standing in a dangerous situation where blood and fire intertwined, and made a choice. The rhythm and momentum changed. It seemed to have opened a key opportunity. The strange timbre of the flute and electronic music gradually became fierce. After a short pause, the tone became high-spirited. Thoughts surged in the silence, and in the silence, there was an explosion of desperation. The zither notes quickly rose step by step. The sonorous timbre seemed to have dispelled the hesitation in the heart. With the tragic and stirring feeling of putting one's life on the line in a desperate situation, it erupted with a magnificent, lofty feeling of breaking out of the ground. In the video, the roots that he had buried deep underground broke free from the shackles of the earth and broke out of the ground. The roots twisted and turned into a form that was suitable for walking. The green leaves curled up, and the dense branches retracted. In the end, he still took this step. When the voices became high-pitched again, an imposing aura that caused the hair on one's back to stand on end rushed towards them, as if a storm had suddenly been set off. Can't abandon, can't give up easily, hope still exists, forward even if there are thorns ahead. For the first time in his life, he stood completely on the ground. He didn't know how long it would take to find the destination in his heart, but since he had taken the first step, he could take 1,000 steps, 10,000 steps. The heavenly Tao was constant, but variables and rules coexisted. One choice could determine the change of fate. He looked back at his clansmen. In the light of dawn, there was a horn that seemed to wake up the sleepers. After the extremely penetrating voice, an innumerable high-pitched harmony sounded, with the solemnity of galloping across the world. 1 tree, 2 trees, 10 trees, 100 trees. Like a butterfly effect, the figures that stood up were like waves. Thousands of survivors broke free from the shackles of the earth and stood up. Like their clansmen standing at the forefront, they changed into a form suitable for walking. From this moment on, they would leave this homeland where they grew up, and there would be no more peace. From this moment on, they would no longer be timid. No one was born strong, but in order to survive, what harm was there in taking this step? There was no way back. In order to survive, they could only move forward. Perhaps, there was still a place in the world where they could continue to live. The orchestral instruments played a long final note, and the thunderous drumbeats seemed to roll in the clouds, as if they were about to open another prelude. In the video, on one side, there were countless densely packed survivors about to leave their homeland. On the other side, there was the flickering shadow of a demon under the blood-colored smoke. The video gradually faded. The subtitles read MV Main Character, Polar Light Species, Longxiang Tianluo Song Title, 100-Year Period of Destruction First Movement, Divine Punishment Producer, Fang Jiao Production Team, Polar Light Project Team, Fang Jiao, Zhu Wen, Song Miao, Pang Pusong, Zheng Huang, WNU, Ji Polan, Beiji, etc. Production Company, Silver Wing Media. The music and video ended at the same time. The people in the projection room seemed to have experienced a long period of suffocation. They couldn't help but take deep breaths to ease the lingering fear in their hearts. This. Chu Guang still didn't have the guts to say that word. He doubted his own judgment. His previous indignation had long since disappeared. He was inferior. The music department. Y.A. Erlin was also in the projection room with the music department. He closed his eyes and took deep breaths, as if enjoying the lingering sound waves that lingered in the air. Do you smell it? Y.A. Erlin whispered to a few of the composers beside him. What? They were still in a daze. The smell of an epic. In the new era, there was a type of music that was different from the popular styles. It was also different from those classic tunes that were sung by countless people. Perhaps not many people loved it, but no one could deny its status. It was the story of life and death, of rebirth in desperate circumstances, of the vastness of the stars and the vastness of the universe, of endless dreams and hopes, of all living things, of miracles born from despair, and of absolute shock to the soul. People called it an epic. An epic. This was the word that Y.A. Erlin hadn't said when he heard the demo. It was also the word that Chu Guang didn't dare say. When listening to the demo, Y.A. Erlin wasn't sure what the quality of the finished product would be, so he didn't dare comment. A song with a symphonic structure wasn't easy to master. Without sufficient experience, comprehension, and overall control, it was difficult to achieve a satisfactory result. Even Y.A. Erlin wasn't confident he could pull it off so perfectly. That was why Y.A. Erlin had doubted Fang Zhao's ability when he first heard the demo. Fang Zhao looked too young. He didn't look like someone who could compose and master such a song. Only after the music was completed did Y.A. Erlin realize that Fang Zhao had handled the details like the intensity and speed perfectly. He had combined symphonic and new-era electronic music perfectly. He had put a lot of thought into the layering and layout. That kind of surging, sharp, and exquisite music had brought out the atmosphere of the music video without restraint. They were used to Xiao Qing's new style of lyricism, the passion of dance music, and other popular genres. This was the first time Rong Zhang and Chu Guang had seen an epic narrative. Amidst this majestic music, everyone who heard it felt as if they had been brought back to that uneasy era. Through the layers of blood-colored smoke and dust, they witnessed the changes of a race in the background of that era. As they lifted their feet, they moved forward, forward. It was the cry of life during the end of days. The vibrations of sound penetrated deep into the marrow. In Y.A. Erlin's eyes, this was an epic rank. The perfect combination of sound and sound had a powerful, penetrating, and infectious power. There was no doubt about it. Yes or no, we'll get the answer this afternoon. But Y.A. Erlin had underestimated the industry's reaction speed. It didn't take until the afternoon. An hour after the release of Divine Punishment, it was 9 a.m. on October 1st. The Voice of Yangzhou, founded by the Yangzhou Music Association and recognized as the most authoritative media outlet in the industry, had an evaluation. Polar Light, the first virtual idol to debut as an epic in the new era. Chapter 28. An epic debut. The final word. No one could doubt the most authoritative evaluation in the industry. The word epic also indicated that this season's ranking was destined to be a piece of shit due to the impact of this event. No, perhaps it would not just be the newcomer chart. This would be a storm for the entire Yangzhou music scene. It was not an exaggeration to call it a subversion. It messed up too many people's plans. That was why Y.A. Erlin and Chu Guang didn't dare give it an epic rating. Setting aside the quality of the music itself, this had never happened before. There were actually some pieces of music that could be called epic. Silver Wing Media, Neon Culture, and Tongshan True Entertainment, the three major entertainment companies, all had their own A studios. Silver Wing's Flying Steed, Neon Culture's Metal Rush, and Tongshan True Entertainment's Four Dimensions were all studios capable of producing epic music. Not just in Yangzhou, top studios in other continents were the same. Most of the music they produced existed in the form of copyrighted music. They never took the same route as other pop music, and their target audience was never the average consumer. The music produced by this kind of studio was a monumental masterpiece with hundreds of millions of profit. For example, movies, important programs, commercials, games, or even real Heavenly King celebrities. He had always been a lofty existence. Moreover, every production was absolutely confidential and would not be leaked at all. Therefore, the status of this kind of A studio was very special in the company. Even if it was a department head like Julian, they would not give face to him. Julian was not lying when he said that she couldn't even listen to a complete song. If other companies or institutions wanted to borrow the music produced by the top studios, they would have to pay an additional fee, which was not affordable by ordinary consumers. The lowest fee was 4 digits, and it was not a complete buyout. It could only be used for a limited period of time. It could be a few days, or a few months, the length of time varied. If they really wanted a buyout, the asking price would be even higher. It was said that last year, Silver Wings Flying Pegasus had produced a piece of music and sold it to a game company for a seven-figure sum. No one knew the exact amount, and no one had heard the quality of the piece. In any case, that was what the rumors said. It was not even an epic piece. If it was an epic piece, the asking price would be even higher. Because of this, suddenly discovering that the debut song of a virtual idol released by Silver Wing was actually an epic song, it was simply a shock. You're crazy. That was what the Phyllis team of Neon Culture thought of Silver Wing's actions. Had Silver Wing gone mad? An epic piece of music was just to pave the way for a virtual idol with an unknown future. Was that a normal song? It was a golden brick. If Neon Culture's Metal Frenzy had produced a song like that, they would never have given it to a rookie virtual idol. Silver Wing's actions were insane. What a waste. Inhumane. It was like using a dragon-slaying knife to chop garlic. Silver Wing did not feel the pinch, but everyone else was shaken. The creative community was also shocked by Silver Wing's extravagance. So that was it. They had secretly produced a virtual idol without a word. They had thought that Silver Wings Flying Pegasus was producing the music for a big-budget New Year's film. Who would have guessed? At that level, it was impossible for people in the industry to have no contact with each other. Hence, after the release of Divine Punishment, people kept contacting Flying Pegasus, but they got nothing. Forget it. I can understand if you don't want to talk. You don't have to explain. I get it. You guys have your reasons. Those who couldn't get a reason began to fill in the blanks. However, the Flying Pegasus team was also dumbfounded. Wait, what do you guys know? Tell us, what do you guys know? What reasons? How come we don't know? And that song, who wrote it? When did Silver Wing have such a talent? Why didn't we at Flying Pegasus know? After hanging up the phone again, the general manager of Flying Pegasus clutched his chest with trembling hands. Heartache. Epic. All it did was pave the way for a virtual idol. He wanted to see who was the one who made the decision to waste it. After taking the medicine his assistant handed him, Flying Pegasus CEO didn't bother to rest. He got up and grabbed a special communicator. He was going to complain to Silver Wing's biggest boss. While the music industry was abuzz, the outside world was just as lively. A song that the authoritative media said could prop up a monumental movie was actually just for the debut of a virtual idol. Indeed, it was paved the way with gold bricks. What did I just hear? Money. Endless amounts of money. No, you heard the sound of gold bricks. Gold bricks. Gold bricks that could be bought for $1. Even those who had never been interested in epic music couldn't help but download it. Only the music could be downloaded. The music video couldn't be downloaded. It could only be saved. And everyone who finished watching the music video would have one thought in their mind. Why do I feel like it's unfinished? You're right. It was to be continued. Didn't you see the words first movement at the end of the song? It's the end of the year. I think Silver Wing is up to something. I think Silver Wing is up to something too. The virtual idols from Neon Culture and Tongshan True Entertainment were the talk of the town. Silver Wing didn't say anything. So they're holding back for a big move. The first big move is out. The second one should be coming soon, right? Am I the only one who noticed the name Fang Zhao? No matter what, the fact that Divine Punishment was rated epic by the authoritative music industry made waves. Everyone at Silver Wing was surprised, except for Du Ang, Julian and Y.A. Erlin. After seeing the review, Du Ang and the other two rushed to the 50th floor. Because it was Polar Light's debut day, the virtual idol team was there. When the three of them went up, they were celebrating excitedly. Zhu Wen, Zheng Huang and the others weren't interested in music, but they knew the review would be a big help in launching Polar Light. When Du Ang and the other two arrived, they locked the elevator doors to the 50th floor to prevent curious passers-by from interrupting them. Du Ang was so excited that he forgot what he was going to say when he opened his mouth. Y.A. Erlin and Julian saw Du Ang's mouth open a few times but no sound came out. They squeezed Du Ang to the side. Fang Zhao, did you really compose that song? Julian asked. Even though they had asked this question many times, they couldn't help but be skeptical when they received the final review. Yes, I did. Fang Zhao nodded. If I'm not mistaken, you have follow-up movements. Y.A. Erlin asked anxiously. Indeed. Fang Zhao didn't hide it from them. There are 3 more movements. Y.A. Erlin and the other 2 inhaled sharply. 3 movements. Have you finished production? Let's see. Duang couldn't wait. I haven't started production yet, Fang Zhao said. Why? Duang was surprised. But Fang Zhao was more surprised that they would ask such a stupid question. Chapter 29. Many of the top-of-the-line equipment had a limited lifespan. The rental alone would eat up more than half of the $5 million allocated by the higher-ups, not to mention the cost of other materials. Plus, the project staff hadn't been paid yet. As the old saying went, even artists had to eat. Fang Zhao wouldn't mistreat his own people. Since the funding was depleted, the project would stop. He could resume whenever he could. Of course, the success of the first movement confirmed to Fang Zhao that Silver Wing wouldn't pass up this golden opportunity. TSK, that's a deep question. Duang and the other 2 finally remembered that the initial investment for the project was only $5 million, and that was after Duang had asked the higher-ups for more. If they had followed the initial funding, it would have been even less. Given the current state of affairs, $5 million was indeed too little. It hadn't been easy for Fang Zhao and company to launch Polar Light. Don't worry. I'll report the funding to the higher-ups. It won't be as little as last time. Plus, I'm sure your bonuses will be substantial, Duang said. Even an idiot would know that Silver Wing's virtual idol was about to rise. How could the company not support him? Not to mention the possibility of another epic. The kid was going to strike it rich. He might even be recruited by Flying Pegasus. That was a goal Y.A. Erlin couldn't achieve despite all his efforts. Duang calmed down a little after being doused with cold water by such a realistic question. Speaking of which, Duang scanned the room, his gaze lingering briefly on Zhu Wen and company. You guys better keep your mouths shut. Don't talk nonsense. Zhu Wen stifled a laugh. Got it. The outside world now thought that Polar Light's debut with Epic was a big move that Silver Wing had been holding back for so long this year. Even in an interview they had just seen online, when Silver Wing's spokesperson was asked about this, he only smiled calmly without saying a word. He had a mysterious look on his face. But the project team could guess that the spokesperson's back was drenched in sweat. Other than smiling and playing it mysterious, what else could he say? Say he didn't know? Wouldn't that be a slap in the face? If that happened, Silver Wing would be the industry's biggest joke of the year. It might even go down in history. Silver Wing could not afford to lose face like this. After Duang and the other 2 left, Fang Zhao received thanks from Beiji and Ji Polan. Fang Zhao had added their names to the project team, which greatly increased their exposure. 4 singers and actors like them, this was a very good boost to their popularity. Beiji himself had not expected that Fang Zhao would add his name to the production team even though he had only helped out on the 50th floor for 3 days during his free time, moving equipment for 3 days. Even though Beiji was at the tail end of the list, it was enough to make Beiji excited. Just now, his agent told him that his name was becoming more popular on the internet. No matter what, it was also a kind of popularity. He had an advantage over the other rookies. Super happy. Super excited. He, ha 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 ha. In the newcomer's dormitory, Beiji was as excited as a spasming sheep, running around the room. The other 3 rookies were also envious. What should he say? Luck was hard to fathom. After receiving the thanks and congratulations from Beiji and Ji Polan, Fang Zhao browsed through the comments online and took a cursory look at the reactions of the outside world. Then he went to find the more popular media outlets to comment on this matter. They were the true guides of public opinion. One of the most popular media outlets, Prairie Fire, seemed to have swallowed up the Yangju derby that had been mentioned a few days ago. Now, the entire article was speculating on the deeper meaning behind Silver Wing's move, as well as speculating on Silver Wing's next step. They asserted that Silver Wing had definitely started preparing for this virtual reality project a long time ago. As for the various rumors from before, they were just smoke bombs. To prove their guesses to the public, Prairie Fire even invited expert professors to the show. Experts wouldn't lie, right? For the live broadcast, Prairie Fire invited 2 people. One was Professor Bradley from Yangju University's School of History, who specialized in the period of destruction. The other was Ku Da, a researcher at the Yangju Institute of Science who specialized in biological changes during the period of destruction. Both of them were well-known figures in their respective research circles. Their words were authoritative, and no one would doubt the veracity of their words in the field of research. In the live broadcast, Bradley analyzed the process of the cataclysm in the Divine Punishment music video from a professional point of view, as well as the sequence, location, and scale of the meteorites and earthquakes. His conclusion was that the music video was consistent with real history. Although the virtual idol didn't exist, he couldn't find any fault with the background. It was much more rigorous than some movies from the period of destruction. Professor Ku Da from the Yangju Institute of Science was the same. After analyzing every biological change from a professional perspective, his conclusion was that there was nothing wrong with the music video. There had been so many biological changes during the period of destruction, but in the music video, many easily confusing details had been noted. It was so rigorous that he wanted to have a chat with the consultant behind the music video. On the live broadcast, the 2 hosts had a look that said, "Let's see how many secrets we can unearth." They concluded, "Therefore, we speculate that Silver Wing definitely has a formidable team of consultants behind this project, and they are definitely well known in the industry. They have signed confidentiality agreements and have yet to reveal themselves. It goes to show that Silver Wing has put a lot of thought into this project. They must have been preparing for a long time." On the 50th floor of Silver Wing Media, Zhu Wen and the others turned to look at Fang Zhao. A formidable team of consultants. Haha. Everyone outside was waiting for Silver Wing's next move. In fact, many people inside Silver Wing were also waiting. They were waiting for the reaction of the company's top management. This was not an ordinary newcomer's debut. It had attracted too much attention, and they did not dare to act rashly. Even now, the chief spokesperson could only smile without saying a word. Inside his office, Dueng had discussed with Ya Erlin and Julian. He had planned to ask the higher-ups for money, but there hadn't been any response so far. He decided to use this as an opportunity to probe. But before he could do so, he received a text from his direct superior. Dueng nearly dropped the glass in his hand. His face turned white. "What's up, old Du?" Ya Erlin and Julian asked hurriedly when they saw Dueng looking like a mouse that had seen a cat. "Manager She wants us to call Fang Zhao up for a meeting," Dueng replied, steadying his glass. "All 3 of us are going?" Julian pointed to himself. "Yes, Manager She said 3 of us and Fang Zhao. That's 4 of us. No one missing." "Which floor?" Ya Erlin asked. Which floor the meeting was held corresponded to the position of the person hosting the meeting. Generally speaking, the higher the floor, the higher the position of the person hosting the meeting. This meeting had to have something to do with the virtual idol and epic. Knowing where the meeting was held would give them a better understanding of the purpose of the meeting through their contacts. Dueng gulped, pointed upward, and said in a trembling voice, "The top floor." In the conference room on the top floor, there was always only one host, the company's biggest boss. "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."